Stick with me. You and I are diving into a wild fantasy land full of elves, beastmen, and crazy monsters. When night falls, the monsters lose their minds and attack everything. Your only safe spots are shelters guarded by glowing crystal towers. I inherited a crystal tower out in the wasteland, but it was completely wrecked. The last owner perished here, leaving 0 defense towers standing. I spent almost all my blue crystals, which are the money here, just fixing 2 arrow towers so I could barely survive. I desperately needed workers for my shelter, so I visited the closest city on light day, the one magical day those terrifying monsters hide. Right outside the massive city walls sat a market. Even the absolute cheapest workers demanded 2 blue crystals every single week, and I only had 5 left. That is when I spotted her, a hooded girl begging a rich merchant to buy her homemade slime gel. He cruelly rejected her and pushed her hood back, exposing white animal ears. She was a beast, kin, and the merchant screamed at her to leave. Luckily, I possess a special ability allowing me to view people's stats. When I checked her status, I was totally blown away. Her name was Aisha. She possessed an epic level talent called quick thinking, plus rare skills in materials science and architecture. Most folks out here don't have one talent. I definitely don't. My only abilities are architecture and civil engineering, gained from 10 long years of grinding in construction back in my old world. Her status revealed she hadn't eaten in 4 days, and at the bottom it read, "Give her a bite to eat, and she might follow you." I approached and said I wanted to hire her. She completely misunderstood and turned bright red. I immediately clarified it was a solid job, offering food and a place to sleep. Her eyes instantly lit up, free meals and housing included. The merchant warned me she was incredibly dangerous. Beast can carry scary dark erosion. You and I need to watch closely. It makes them lose control, like monsters. Every city bans them, so nobody hires them. But I honestly wasn't worried. I possess a golden book called The Wonder Construction Guide. One of the magical wonders I can build is a holy spring that clears all abnormal conditions. If built, I can instantly cure her dark erosion whenever it acts up. I also desperately need her for another epic wonder, the statue of the god of architecture, reducing building time by 25%. That massive project requires 2 workers, and right now I have 0. I offered her 1 crystal weekly. Then, when she eagerly agreed, I quietly updated it to 1 blue crystal a month in the contract. She was honestly so thrilled about getting regular food and shelter that she completely missed it. She signed the 5-year contract, trembling, and instantly, her loyalty jumped from 0 to 68. Her status still displayed hunger, cold, and wandering. But now it also read, "Is this real? Is there actually a safe place where you get food and a warm bed without having to pay for it?" I looked at her, smiling. Time to buy supplies and head back. Aisha's loyalty surprisingly jumped to 60 right after signing our new contract. That was much higher than I ever expected. I spent 2 blue crystals on 2 weeks of food, and we journeyed to my shelter together. Aisha really surprised me. She casually carried 2 heavy bags of wheat. The girl was strong. Heading back, we bumped into Luke Griffin, friendly neighbor living 5 kilometers away. His massive shelter is level 3 with 5 defense towers surrounded by farmland. He was actually the one who woke me up after the terrifying beast wave and left food. When we arrived, Aisha stared like it was a castle. You and I know it wasn't just a crystal center, 3 basic arrow towers, and 1 extremely old wooden house with 4 dusty rooms. I gave her the left side room and told her to rest up because we had serious work. I opened up my Wonder Construction Guide and immediately selected the Holy Spring. I had to clear her dark erosion tonight. If she goes totally berserk tonight, I stand 0 chance against someone that strong. The total construction time was 12 hours, but combining our efforts, we could easily finish in 6. It was exactly 1 in the afternoon, meaning we would finish by 7. 1 hour before those monsters start attacking. Activating the mysterious blueprint made Aisha yelp. She frantically said something invaded her brain. This guide sends building knowledge straight into a worker's mind. I received the exact same knowledge, but honestly, checking that blueprint, I felt disappointed. The finished product was supposed to be a tiny puddle just 1 meter across. Some wonder. I firmly told Aisha the knowledge was a special gift, and not to ask any questions. She was absolutely too terrified of losing her job to argue. having just eaten 2 soft bread rolls, her first meal in for long days. She definitely wasn't ruining this. We aggressively dug dirt, hauled heavy stones, and carved details for 6 hours. By 7, I was completely gasping for air, barely able to even stand up. I placed the final stone. Then everything transformed. Brilliant golden light covered the entire pit. The small 2-meter hole magically expanded right before our eyes, growing bigger than the whole wooden house. Those rough stones turned perfectly clear and beautiful like glowing amber. Fresh water bubbled up from dry ground, radiating a holy light. It literally looked like a sacred bath behind our cabin. Trust me, you and I just witnessed pure magic. Let's dive in. This water came right from the dirt hole we dug all afternoon. I crouched, taking a sip. Every bit of soreness vanished instantly. My energy completely rushed back. So, I told Aisha to drink some too. Night was falling. She knelt and took a tiny sip. Suddenly, black smoke erupted from her back and completely vanished. Trembling, tears started streaming down her dirty face. She whispered that the heavy weight she carried her entire life was completely gone. That terrible curse, making Beastkin feared and hated, gone. The exact reason she spent endless nights locked inside an iron cage. I checked her stats and almost choked. Loyalty shot straight up to 92. But wait, the biggest surprise? Her actual talent had completely changed. Before, it was epic level quick thinking. Now, it boldly read legendary level, scientific genius. That holy spring didn't just cure her curse, it fully unlocked her true potential. Legendary is literally the absolute highest talent tier here. I don't even possess the lowest tier. My panel is basically completely blank. I started thinking with the legendary scientific genius talent. I could teach her everything from my past life, architecture, engineering, absolutely all of it. Who honestly knows what she could create with that insane ability? Suddenly, Aisha dropped right down to her knees before me. She vowed to be my most loyal follower forever. She just asked one single thing. Please never fire her. Then, night fell, and the monsters poured right out. Watch closely here. Slimes, magic wolves, and goblins crawled out from underground cities like an endless, unstoppable wave. My 3-arrow towers immediately fired blue bolts, expertly picking off every single creature. Getting close. The defeated monsters left no bodies behind. They just turned to dust, completely swallowed by the wasteland. Still, I was genuinely worried. I actually learned that the huge beast wave from 2 nights ago was sparked by some kind of strange magic disturbance. It completely wiped out many shelters, definitely, including the previous owner of my current place. Nobody knows exactly when the next wave strikes, though apparently, the city hired a prophet to predict them. 3 towers can handle normal nights, but they won't survive another massive wave. A new crystal core for 1 extra tower costs 1,000 blue crystals. Upgrading my tower levels costs 200. Just keeping the towers running drains crystals every single week. I desperately needed cash, fast. Checking the Wonder Construction Guide, I totally chose the treasure basin. Every defeated monster would have a 10% chance of dropping a blue crystal. With 300 to 400 monsters falling each night, that means 30 to 40 free crystals daily. Building the architecture god statue could wait. Constructing the treasure basin first gave me 2 extra days of sweet crystal income before our next light day trip right into the city. We safely survived the entire night. By morning time, Aisha was already up and moving. She cooked breakfast, scrubbed the house, and greeted me exactly like some nervous maid. I smiled, telling her to relax and treat this place like home. She took a very deep breath, promising to work super hard. I just scratched my head. I basically sounded like a corporate boss calling the company family. Our breakfast was just plain bread and simple porridge. Absolutely zero meat or oil. Ready for this? I activated the blueprint, and complex knowledge immediately flooded both our minds again. It revealed a 2-meter altar featuring a stone basin, completely covered in incredibly detailed patterns. We drank holy spring water for an energy boost and started working behind the house. 6 solid hours for 2 people, and we proudly finished by noon. While working, I asked Aisha about her past. She explained, the sparrow beastkin once lived on a giant lifeless tree over 100 kilometers away, safely protected by 2 crystal towers. 3 years ago, A massive beast wave struck right as all the beastkin went completely berserk together. A bird demon's cry drove the entire shelter into pure chaos. When Aisha finally awoke, everything was gone. Her shelter, the crystal towers, and her family were just gone. Captured and forced into cruel mind labor, she finally escaped during the beast wave 2 nights ago, secretly following a merchant caravan straight to the city. I truly felt bad for her, but I firmly told her to save the thank yous and funnel that energy into working. Then a wild idea hit me. Why waste time working silently? With Aisha's legendary scientific genius talent, she should learn incredibly fast. So, I started teaching her architecture while we built. Her eyes went totally wide. She explained that classes from ordinary scholars cost over 10 blue crystals each. She definitely couldn't afford lessons from a supposed legendary architect. I just smirked, telling her to pay me back later. 10 crystals per lesson. She got super emotional, promising to eventually repay me, not just in blue crystals, but in rare pink crystals. 1 pink crystal literally equals 1,000 blue ones. I haven't even seen a pink crystal in this world yet, but I really loved her ambition. I started teaching, and within one single session, her architecture skill jumped 2 points to 9 out of 10. This girl was an absolute sponge. By midday, we finished. The stone altar and basin were complete. Aisha masterfully carved the last pattern. I pressed the guide's final step, and boom, golden light erupted. The plain stone basin magically transformed into a heavy, glowing golden vessel with a metallic sheen. The altar expanded into a glowing golden platform. Trust me, you and I need to check these stats. Stick with me. You are about to see Aisha hit expert architecture, while my own skill jumped from 1 to 5 out of 20. 4 whole points just from building 2 epic wonders. I smiled. Hitting master architect status was basically a guaranteed thing. Now, these crazy creations, the holy spring, and the golden treasure basin, were completely filling up the crystal tower's glowing blue light. But honestly, they looked way too flashy. If anyone spotted golden altars and glowing water, they would definitely attack my tower. I really had to hide them somehow. Aisha looked over and asked what the basin did. I told her to wait until tonight. We chilled by the holy spring. The magic water healed muscle pain, but not pure exhaustion. Aisha had insane stamina, probably from years working the mines. Sitting next to me, being super tiny, she just kept enthusiastically pitching ideas. Stuff like using sausage, tree bark, and slime gel for plumbing. Letting slimes dissolve waste instead of digging a massive underground sewer system. This girl had some absolutely wild ideas, but they actually made sense. I was just totally drained. The planning was done, but the heavy lifting was not. We started crafting the god of architecture statue that same afternoon. We ground out 10 solid hours, leaving 38 more to split. Aisha cheerfully handled most of my heavy lifting when I basically ran out of gas. I felt kinda bad, but my body just refused. Now pay close attention. That night, we waited outside by the treasure basin. Right on cue, the monsters arrived. Vicious magic wolves charged, eyes flashing red. The arrow towers instantly fired. After the third wolf fell, a sharp ringing echoed out. A tiny blue crystal suddenly popped right into the golden basin. Aisha's eyes went incredibly wide. I just laughed, explaining that the basin automatically collects valuable crystals from defeated monsters. She excitedly jumped up on her toes, literally vibrating with pure joy. I offered a high five, and she happily smacked it, immediately getting super shy and looking away. But she smiled. We watched for half an hour, collected 6 shiny crystals, and slept. Next morning, sprinted straight to the basin. It was almost half full. We counted them all together. 132 crystals total. Over 130 a day. I would have 700 soon. Enough to hire some serious helpers for the heavy lifting. Though food and shelter definitely had to come first. Top priority was definitely upgrading our crystal tower. 200 crystals unlocked. Level 2. Bringing stronger arrow towers easily capable of handling a small beast wave. Safety always comes first. We sculpted all day long. By evening, we were both completely drained, leaning against the holy spring, chugging the glowing water. That strange feeling returned. Totally wiped out, but strangely cozy. A 3-meter-tall statue loomed behind us. Neither of us had any real sculpting experience, but the guide perfectly guided our hands. We just needed to get the basic shape right. The magical wonder would perfect itself eventually. 8 hours left. One more solid day. That night, I told Aisha to just sleep well. She washed her face and slept. Now know what you are thinking. More loot? Next morning, we counted again. 144 crystals. Even more than yesterday. I grabbed 200 and quickly upgraded the tower. The pale blue light instantly grew thicker, pulsing like ocean waves right through the air. The dry wasteland suddenly felt nicely humid. Aisha felt it too. With her hood down, the cute, feathery tips of her hair twitched. Sensing the massive shift in the humidity, the protective zone expanded from 30 meters to almost 50, basically half a football field. We had so much room for new wonders. Upgrading an arrow tower to level 2 cost 50 crystals. I instantly upgraded one and kept the remaining loot safely in reserve. If anything crazy happened, I could easily upgrade another one mid-fight. I tossed 50 blue crystals inside to level up the first arrow tower. 3 epic upgrade choices appeared: rapid fire, sniper, or scatter, each completely unique. I could not decide immediately. Then Luke randomly rode over on his awesome camel beast, tossing me some warm milk. Spotting Aisha working nearby, he warned that having a beastkin was super dangerous. But I promised him I had a secret method to stop any berserk moments. He seemed totally satisfied. Luke happily offered daily milk deliveries during his normal patrol. For just 1 single crystal monthly, I handed him 2. The kid absolutely deserved it. Dealing with older brothers and never getting any decent spending cash. Before riding off, Luke shared something crucial. The city's new fortune teller predicted some insanely powerful monsters from the underground city would attack soon, potentially spreading a very nasty sickness everywhere. He then noticed the holy spring, calling it a beautiful pool. I just casually played it off as a simple water tank. But watching him leave, I realized these magical wonders were impossible to hide forever. I absolutely needed a solid backup plan. Because of that wild fortune teller warning, I fully committed to the sniper tower upgrade. Half the firing speed, sure, but triple the massive damage, amazing range, and targeting the strongest enemy first. Trust me, if a boss monster was coming, this was perfect. I could always drop 50 more crystals for an emergency upgrade if things got sketchy. At breakfast, I poured our fresh milk. Aisha's eyes lit up. She thought fresh milk was only for rich elites and tower masters. She sipped it slowly, remaining quietly grateful. Stick with me here. I told her the meals and living conditions would rapidly improve. A little motivation helps. By mid-morning, we completely finished that magnificent god of architecture statue. Golden light flashed brilliantly, and a towering sculpture over 10 meters tall stood proudly outside the cabin. Aisha remained totally amazed by this epic transformation, even after seeing it twice. My architecture skill climbed to 8 out of 20. Hers hit 3. Then I opened the Epic Wonder Construction Guide, straight to page 2. For new wonders, this Horn of Plenty actually doubles crop growth speed and adds 50% to harvests. It needs 1 worker and must sit beside farmland. Thanks to the statue's bonus cutting build time by 25%, the work drops from 48 hours to 36. Those guardian statues are 4 stone figures that take turns safely patrolling the shelter every night. Requires 4 workers for 144 hours. The Horn of Submission makes 1 monster within 5 meters obey when blown. 30-day cooldown for workers, taking 48 hours. The statue of the hunting goddess lets each arrow tower train 1 archery master. It boosts all bow and tower damage by 50% inside the shelter. 4 workers for arrow towers require 36 hours. My heart was pounding at that last one, especially. I could easily train myself into an archery master. I'd been very envious of the Griffin family's bow skills for days. If both Aisha and I became true masters, we could travel safely outside, even on completely normal days. Now pay attention. I sat by the holy spring planning everything. I needed at least 4 workers. The 2 spare rooms inside the cabin could fit them if they squeezed in. I'd build new rooms when I had time. 3 days remained until the next light day. The Horn of Plenty's reduced 36 hours could be split easily. 6 hours per person each day. The rest of the time, we prepare farmland. I'd buy seeds and fertilizer at the city next week. For now, I grabbed some old farming tools from the shelter and simply started clearing the land. I actually grew up in the countryside, back in my old world. This part, at least, I knew exactly how to do. Aisha had endless energy, especially with the Holy Spring boost. I decided to let her handle most of the heavy physical work from now on. In a couple days, I'd buy some laborers, anyway, and a truly legendary talent like hers shouldn't be wasted on hauling heavy rocks forever. So sorry, Aisha. Just hang in there 2 more days. I happily taught her how to clear farmland and the basics of crossbreeding high-yield crops. She soaked it all up so eagerly. By the end of the afternoon, we had an acre of farmland ready in front of the cabin. The wasteland soil was terrible, possessing almost no nutrients, but crops inside the crystal towers ranged mature in 1 or 2 weeks. If I planted beans first, I could build up soil quality super fast. The Horn of Plenty icon inside my guide finally lit up now that we had farmland. I activated it, and the building knowledge flowed into both our heads. Another sculpture. Aisha grabbed her heavy hammer, then suddenly stopped. She could feel it. She was faster now. The God of Architecture statue's 25% speed bonus was working. I casually told her there was no rush. Just safely finish before the next light day. While she worked on that epic wonder, I went and built something I desperately needed. A much-needed bath. I hadn't washed in days. I made a small pool near the holy spring, then water straight into it, and cleverly connected the drain to a water tank by our farmland, so nothing was wasted. I put up stone slabs for privacy. I soaked for half an hour. You and I both know that feeling. Pure soul-cleansing magic. I officially declared this holy spring the absolute greatest wonder ever built. After I finished, I told Aisha to take a bath too. She quickly turned red. She honestly didn't even know what soaking in a bath meant. As a kid, she just wiped herself with a cloth at the riverbank. In the mines, she never got to wash at all. I casually explained the concept. Get in the water, clean yourself. She hurried off. Later, she came back and kept nervously glancing at me. I found out exactly why much later. She'd used the exact same water I bathed in because she didn't realize there was a valve to change it. Only after getting in did she notice my drainage system. The thought of sharing bathwater with me apparently made her dizzy. Suddenly, loud thunder rumbled in the distance. Heavy rain was coming. Aisha's ears twitched. She warned me something dangerous was approaching us. I looked out and saw it. A massive shape moving toward us. A giant troll, 5 or 6 meters tall, carrying a wooden club. On its shoulder sat a small figure. As it got closer through the rain, I could make it out clearly. The troll was way bigger than normal, covered in foul wounds like a walking nightmare. Gross green fog surrounded it, and the horrible smell was exactly like a rotting swamp. The small figure was a nasty goblin shaman holding a wooden staff. Aisha loudly screamed, a plague shaman. Her mother had told her about these terrible goblin sorcerers that used dark magic to totally control defeated monsters. If those gross bodies get close to a settlement, they spread disease. The wicked shaman raised its staff and cast a spell. The defeated goblins and wolves stood back up. Trust me, you and I are not ready for this. The pressure on my towers completely doubled instantly. Stick with me here. I had 36 crystals. Upgrades cost 50. I was exactly 24 short. I told Aisha to watch our treasure basin and fetch those crystals instantly. She sprinted off. I just stood there, staring at our defense line, feeling totally out of options. I disliked feeling stuck. I made a firm promise. I absolutely must build that hunting goddess statue. If only I were an archery master, I could actually fight back cheerfully, instead of just helplessly watching. The arrow towers fired constantly. That plague shaman was magically reviving fallen monsters, meaning each beast took 2 or 3 solid hits to completely take down for good. Our level 2 sniper towers still eliminated them instantly, but the regular towers were definitely struggling. Rain poured heavily. Within 30 minutes, over 200 beasts were stopped, but a few crept within 10 meters of our little cabin. I grabbed a heavy farming tool and bravely whacked an invading wolf. Mud and slime splattered everywhere. I yelled for Aisha to hurry up. She cheerfully shouted back that we just needed 2 more crystals. 2 more wolves charged. I turned to run, passing our glowing holy spring. Then, a brilliant thought struck. If that holy water cured Aisha previously, Maybe it could pacify crazed beasts. I quickly scooped up some magical water and confidently tossed it at those wolves. Dark smoke hissed away, and their angry eyes turned completely clear. It totally worked. The towers handled them. Moments later, Aisha joyfully brought those crystals. I sprinted over, selecting the epic scatter upgrade. 5 arrows per single shot. Now pay attention here. Shorter range, but that hardly mattered. The creatures were already inside our shelter. That upgraded tower fired, dropping creatures in massive waves. Then, a giant troll entered the sniper tower range. The first powerful shot blasted the troll perfectly. I frantically yelled at our tower to target that pesky magical shaman instead of him. The next shot brilliantly shattered that goblin shaman. Without magic, the fallen monsters finally stayed down. The massive troll collapsed. Aisha and I bravely stood by the door all night, way too excited to sleep. We took turns watching. By morning, victory was ours. I rested by the holy spring, drinking water to fight off exhaustion. Then, I happily checked the treasure basin. It was completely full. Aisha threw her hands up, happily cheering. We counted everything. 932. That wave brought 8 times more creatures than normal. 932 crystals. That was definitely plenty to buy everything needed from the city. I realized we stayed healthy, even after battling near those infected monster bodies all night long. Our holy spring water definitely protected us. Luke showed up delivering morning milk, but he was coughing quite badly. He explained the fallen beasts carried a plague, and his family was infected. City doctors needed a whole week to create a cure. I generously filled his bag with magical holy spring water, instructing him to drink up. He took 2 quick gulps, and his eyes widened. His cough completely vanished. He felt totally energized. I playfully claimed it was my special secret recipe and told him to share it. He rode home absolutely thrilled. Aisha and I happily shared the milk, washed up, and got some sleep. You and I couldn't possibly guess what happened over at the Griffin shelter. Old Griffin and his sons wrongly assumed I would fail last night. A basic tower facing a massive troll from the 2nd floor of that mysterious underground city. They foolishly figured I had 0 chance. Noah, Luke's older brother, even told Luke to salvage my tower cores if I was taken out. That family had collected cores from fallen neighbors before. It was just the tough way. Things strangely worked out here. So, when Luke burst in enthusiastically, shouting about my special medicine, they were absolutely stunned. Old Griffin curiously smelled it, noting it looked like regular water with a sweet milky scent, and took a very cautious sip. Instantly, his fever broke, and the weakness vanished. He felt 10 whole years younger. Astonished, he asked Luke if I really provided this. Luke nodded, proudly saying, I wanted their whole family to share it. Meanwhile, I happily slept until 2 in the afternoon. Waking up, I saw Aisha cheerfully working outside on the Horn of Plenty. Alone. That amazing girl was a truly self-motivated superstar. Stepping outside, I spotted 2 friendly figures riding camel beasts toward our home. It was Luke and his older father, Old Griffin. Old Griffin warmly thanked me for the healing water, saying it saved them from tragic losses. I humbly smiled, saying, it was nothing. Luke helped me often, and we were great friends. Griffin got straight to exciting business, kindly asking if I needed anything at all. I took my lucky chance, politely asking if they had any spare arrow tower cores available. He thoughtfully stroked his beard, mentioning they had 1 extra core, originally saved for when reaching level 4. He offered it for 800 blue crystals, 200 below market price. What an absolute legend. I requested a few days to gather them. I actually had enough, but needed crucial supplies first. Then, he finally brought up exactly what I was hoping for, the healing water. He curiously asked how much I had, suggesting we sell it in the city. I shared that water, hoping for this exact opportunity. But here is where you and I leave it. The real problem was, I just couldn't safely travel to that city all alone. Stick with me here. The wasteland was way too dangerous. But Griffin had armed escorts and fast camel beasts. If he took me before light day, I could easily sell that water while the plague spread. Since everyone desperately needed a cure, the holy spring never empties. 0 cost, pure profit. Old Griffin happily suggested a smart partnership. He warned that if I tried selling medicine alone, the city's pharmacist guild would totally crush me. Thankfully, he knew some shop owners who could sell it for us. The split, 60% for me, 40% for him and his shops. I agreed instantly, since it was totally fair. He provided the security and connections, while my water literally cost nothing to make. We agreed to head out the very next morning. He'd bring the containers, and I promised my water would be ready. Honestly, I felt amazing about this entire deal. If this worked, I would score enough cash for workers, supplies, and way faster construction. Plus, reaching the city early meant 2 whole extra days of solid progress. I finally figured out their weird calendar. Light day happened once a week, so I just mentally marked it as Sunday. Today was Thursday. Tomorrow, Friday, we would hit the city. My Horn of Plenty project only had about 12 hours of work left. Aisha actually worked 3 extra hours in secret while I slept. We could totally finish it tonight. That way, after buying city seeds tomorrow, we could plant them immediately. Growing crops obviously meant having reliable food. Food brings more workers, a truly perfect cycle. I rolled up my sleeves to help Aisha. Suddenly, a golden light flashed, revealing a horn-shaped sculpture beside our cabin. My architecture skill instantly jumped to 12 out of 20. Aisha's hit 10. Next morning, checked the treasure basin crystals. 96 total. Fewer monsters after those back-to-back waves, but still really great money. I had already filled our largest wooden barrel with that holy spring water, leaving it right by the entrance. Old Griffin finally arrived with Luke, his other son Noah, and 4 camel beasts pulling a cart. He even delivered the arrow tower core. Now watch this closely. I had Aisha store the core. Seeing that glowing water, Griffin's eyes literally sparkled like pure liquid gold. He frantically rushed his sons to start pouring it into sealed clay jars, loudly yelling at them to never spill a drop. I told him Aisha was coming along and needed cart space. Old Griffin didn't even blink once at her unique beastskin appearance. Way smoother than his son. Then, out of nowhere, he offered to sell me a camel beast for 50 crystals. I've been eyeing those awesome animals since day one. They literally look like a bull and horse mixed together, packing 2 huge horns and endless stamina. Fast enough to easily outrun magic wolves, and strong enough to carry 500 pounds. He called them the wasteland's absolute finest workhorses. Looking at this massive, majestic beast, calling it a mere workhorse felt kinda insulting. But honestly, I said yes without a single hesitation. It took exactly 1 hour to reach the city gates. We only ran into 2 packs of magic wolves along the way, but Luke and Noah easily scared them off with their bows. Old Griffin took charge of the medicine water, promising every single crystal would be tracked. Checking his stats just to be safe, he was simply excited and pleased. I know exactly what you're thinking. Was he plotting? Nope. His rare business sensibility simply saw me as a prime investment target. He and both his sons were expert-level archers, so for now, the old man clearly wasn't planning to cheat me. I confidently headed into the city with Aisha. Sadly, beastkin were strictly banned from staying inside overnight. Even during the day, rude people constantly stared. My chatty little sparrow, who never stops talking at home, went completely silent the second we entered. Holding over 1,000 blue crystals now, I had way more confidence than my very first visit. The busy commercial street was totally packed. 2 beast waves drove tower masters from everywhere to fiercely trade supplies and share intel. I overheard people whispering about the crazy fortune teller's newest prediction. Those back-to-back waves happened because ancient seals broke inside the underground city. Terrifying monsters from the 3rd floor and below were pushing weaker upper floor creatures right up to the surface. Things might calm down for a couple weeks, but after that, incredibly strong monsters would start roaming everywhere at night. Weaker shelters were told to completely surrender their towers to the city, or merge with much stronger ones. I had to upgrade my defenses fast. First stop, a local clothing shop. I quickly bought a sleek black coat, shirt, vest, leather boots, and a sturdy work outfit. Then, I instructed the shopkeeper to properly outfit Aisha too. She nervously tried to refuse, but I insisted it was a valid work expense. Glowing with absolute happiness, she eagerly followed a servant girl inside. She returned, rocking a brown hunting outfit that made her look exactly like a sharp, professional little huntress. Then she noticed the extra item I secretly bought. A black and white maid uniform with cute lace trim. Her eyes went totally wide. She furiously refused at first. I bribed her with a dress. She caved, muttering that at least it was highly convenient for cleaning. I kept a perfectly straight face. She shot me a highly suspicious look, acting like she just uncovered my weirdest hidden hobby, looking like a real tower master now. And trust me, you're going to want to see what we plant next. Stick with me. You and I are about to meet a tiny girl, barely a meter tall, screaming at a shop owner for seriously lowballing her prices. She loudly bragged her high-quality seeds came straight from a super famous southern basin. I activated my system and checked her stats. FIA Ford, not a child, but a halfling. Plus, she had epic level quick thinking talent. Her main skill was plant science. At 19 out of 20, just one single point away from becoming a true master. She also had geology and brewing as side skills. Her status said, furious, hungry, mildly sick, and completely desperate to finally become a plant science master. Aisha stepped forward and called her a little girl. FIA absolutely exploded. She shrieked that she was old enough to be Aisha's mom. Aisha jumped back, totally startled, so I stepped in, calmly offering to buy. She took a deep breath and opened up her massive backpack, which was literally as tall as she was. Inside were perfectly wrapped seed packets, plump vegetables, and premium wheat. I quickly asked if she had any beans. She glanced right up at me and instantly guessed it. Newly cleared land. I nodded. This halfling definitely knew her stuff. FIA bragged her 1,000 bird basin seeds brought huge yields. She demanded 20 blue crystals for everything, or offered to trade for super rare seeds she had never seen before. I remembered she was just 1 point away from becoming a plant science master, wandering the entire world, collecting unique seeds to finally trigger that massive breakthrough. I wanted her, not just the seeds, but her skills. I offered a 1-month contract at my shelter for farming, base pay of 20 crystals, plus extra bonuses depending on her final harvest results. She took the deal instantly, loudly bragging that absolutely nobody in this backwater town could match her plant science. Aisha watched the whole exchange unfold and quietly realized FIA had just been completely played. I paid FIA and sent her for fertilizer. Now watch closely, because you and I are going shopping for what I needed most. Strong workers. Aisha and I walked straight to the worker market at the city edge. The awful smell hit us instantly. Just endless rows of shady tents with cages inside. People locked up like merchandise. I hated it. But in this world, contracted workers were absolutely the most reliable people you could ever get. The famous Crystal Tower contract was bound by gods. Even your own family might betray you, but a contracted worker simply could not. The merchant quickly showed me strong, red-haired refugees from the fierce northern wars. I scanned them all with my ability. 0 special talents. The absolute best ones with rare talents or apprentice skills cost 50 to 60 crystals each. Totally not worth it for just muscle. Then I had a completely different idea. Aisha could work all day without getting tired. If other beastkin had similar stamina, they would be vastly more efficient than regular human workers. I asked about beastkin workers. The merchant warned they were banned inside the city simply because of the dangerous berserk risk. He handed me his brother's card and pointed me toward a trader named Tiga, waiting right outside the west gate. The scene outside the city was even rougher. Tiga greeted me super eagerly. He explained recent beast waves destroyed tons of beastkin settlements, and they rounded up the survivors to sell. And I could completely feel Aisha trembling right beside me. I knew she was thinking of her own people. I asked about types. Tiga glanced at Aisha and totally understood my exact situation. He said they had dog and lizard beastkin, but no sparrow beastkin. Aisha honestly did not know whether to feel relieved or just deeply sad. Prices ranged from 3 to 30 crystals. The lizard beastkin were insanely strong, but looked totally terrifying, covered in scales with creepy vertical slit pupils. I just could not bring myself to look directly. I was about to just pick 4 ordinary dog beastkin when my system suddenly flashed purple on one of them. A female dog beastkin named Harper, epic level talent, craftsman spirit. Her main skill was expert level forging, sitting at exactly 3 out of 20. Her status showed intense hunger, deep fear, back leg injury, and one line that stops me. Absolutely cold for my daughter. I must survive, no matter what. I looked much closer. Hidden quietly under Harper's ragged clothes was a tiny little dog, Beastkin Girl, an epic talent in forging. I wasn't letting this go. I quickly checked the little girl hiding behind Harper. Her name was Pello, a dog beastkin packing a seriously rare level talent known as brute strength. 0 skills yet, but a rare talent in a child, was incredibly good. Both mother and daughter had amazing gifts. I scanned the rest of the dog beastkin, over 30 of them. I found 3 more with solid talents. 2 females with rare abilities called Super Smell and Animal Affinity, plus 1 male with a decent common talent called Night Vision. None of them had any skills. 5 total. That was my absolute limit. I seriously wanted more workers, but my shelter could never support them yet. I could only carry enough food for about 10 people per week, and I could not make the dangerous city trip totally solo. I had to wait until I built the hunting goddess statue, trained someone as an archery master, and simply bought a sturdy cart. Then I could safely make supply runs and massively expand. The trader charged me 90 crystals for the adults, throwing in Pello totally free, plus 5 tents. Trust me, you and I are just getting started here. Let's dive right in. Winter was approaching fast, and these flimsy tents were my only option. I loaded up on extra supplies, grabbed some hens and oil, packed the cart, and waited. Then old Griffin returned, sporting a massive, beaming smile. Our medicine water totally sold out. He snagged deals with 3 massive city shops, clearing 2,000 bottles in total. My 60% cut equaled 1,200 crystals. He happily handed over a single pink crystal, plus a heavy bag of 200 blue ones. 1 pink gem equals 1,000 blue ones. He passed it secretly, dodging all the nosy watchers outside. Griffin happily pocketed 400 crystals himself. I handed him 800 for an arrow tower core, and then he dropped some serious advice. Time to upgrade my base. A level 2 tower holds 4 cores, while level 3 packs 5. Danger was definitely brewing out there. He offered to hunt down another core for 1 pink crystal. I weighed my options carefully and struck the deal. FIA arrived right then, dragging a massive bag of fertilizer. We loaded up and departed. Our tiny squad looked like a real caravan now. We had archers, guards, a fully loaded cart, plus 5 brand new beastkin trailing right behind us. We hit the shelter by afternoon. Luke waved goodbye. FIA demanded her room and stomped off to check the crops. I turned around to face my new companions. They stood together, visibly nervous. Harper clutched little Pillow tightly, eyeing me suspiciously. Her status screen revealed total fear. She thought I actually bought her daughter just to cause harm. Pay attention here. This is tense. Bound by contracts, she couldn't even fight back against cruel masters. Begging was her only option. I casually cleared my throat, welcomed them warmly, and said to call me boss. 3 solid meals daily, including meat at lunch, plus temporary tents until I built real houses. Their status simply said hungry, so serving food was the fastest way to earn their absolute trust. I told Aisha to cook massive bowls of porridge with extra meat. The other 3 workers were overjoyed just hearing they would actually eat. Pillow's tiny stomach growled loudly. Harper remained cautious. I casually approached and asked for her name, completely pretending I didn't already know. She claimed to be a blacksmith. I asked what she could craft. Farming tools, weapons, sturdy shields, basic armor. If she got a forge, of course. I loved that answer. Since she had genuine talent, I put her completely in charge of managing the rest of the crew. She and Little Pillow could stay inside the wooden cabin instead of a tent. Then I addressed everyone. I promised that anyone displaying true talent would receive better treatment. Plus, making a massive contribution to our growing shelter could actually earn them their total freedom. I held up the contract for dramatic effect. The 3 regular workers stared blankly. Endless years of harsh servitude carved obedience so deep that my promising words sounded like a strange game their master was playing. But Harper clearly understood, her determined eyes locking onto mine. I saw hopeful thoughts racing through her mind. Freedom. Little Pillow could be free someday. Aisha served everyone holy spring water before dinner. She explained it was a master's blessing to shatter their terrible curse of darkness. They would never go out of control at night ever again. You and I know magic works wonders. Harper drank hesitantly, and suddenly, dark smoke burst right out of her body. The heavy shadow haunting her since birth completely vanished. Her mind instantly felt sharper and clearer than ever. Even a nasty knife wound on her leg started healing. Tearing up, she immediately made Little Pillow drink too. The sweet girl gulped it and smiled happily. One by one, the others drank and gratefully dropped to their knees before me. I just smiled, telling everyone to eat up and stop overthinking things. Checking the stats gave me a huge surprise. Pillow's talent literally upgraded from rare brute strength straight into epic level giant's power. The exact same upgrade happened to Aisha, but the remaining 3 workers didn't change at all. I could not quite figure out the pattern yet. Maybe removing the dark erosion caused it? Either way, this was absolutely fantastic news. Harper's loyalty skyrocketed to 72. Her forging skill reached 18 out of 20, practically master level. Little Pillow's loyalty also hit a solid 60. I instructed Harper to pitch tents near the tower and get everyone thoroughly washed up at the spring. Then I finally headed inside. FIA emerged from her room completely covered in dust, whining about the cabin falling apart. I told her to save the complaints and just go eat. She yelled something crazy about respecting elders. I quickly reminded her I was the boss, threatening docked pay. She shut up instantly and stomped away. That night, I stayed wide awake. News about the mysterious underground city had bothered me all day long. The new recruits pulled their weight immediately. The ones picked for super smell and epic night vision made amazing scouts, guarding the entire perimeter from their tents. Monsters arrived as usual: wolves, slimes, goblins, bats, and scorpion beasts. 4 arrow towers easily destroyed them. Then spotted something vastly bigger crawling toward us from the distance. FIA shouted from behind, magic lizards, 3rd floor underground city creatures. That fortune teller was actually totally right. Stronger beasts already appeared on regular nights. I did the math. I held 1228 blue crystals. Trust me, this battle gets wild. Upgrading the main tower costs 500. Arrow towers are 50 to level 2, and 200 to level 3. If I burned all my cash, the crystal tower hits level 3, 2 arrow towers max out, and the remaining pair jumps up to level 2. Plus, once tonight's treasure basin loot rolls in, I could push a 3rd tower up. Let's dive in. Hoarding cash won't save anyone here, so I spent it all. The tower hit level 3. A soft pink glow merged with the blue light. The safe zone expanded to a 100-meter radius, completely unlocking an insane new power. I could now channel the tower's energy to physically shift buildings and materials anywhere inside. Its massive range. For someone with a construction background, this was a total dream tool. I could rearrange wonders, transport heavy stone blocks, construct entire buildings, and even authorize my own crew to use it. The tower now supported 5 arrow cores, and every single one unlocked a 2nd-tier upgrade featuring 3 wild choices. Flaming arrows that roast targets, armor-piercing shots with double the penetration, and stasis arrows, cutting enemy speed in half. I plotted this out perfectly. Both rapid-fire towers got stasis upgrades to stall incoming waves. The scatter tower gets flame for massive area damage. The sniper tower claimed armor-piercing to punch straight through boss shields. Since I could only afford 3 upgrades today, I put all my focus on the sniper and rapid-fire towers. That scatter tower had to wait. Medicine sales still had 3,600 crystals incoming, plus over 100 nightly from our treasure basin. Watch closely cash returns, but surviving tonight is what truly matters. No more wasting ammo on a giant troll while a tricky shaman sits on its shoulder. That annoying problem? Solved. Dropping 200 crystals per upgrade almost completely drained the pink crystal I invested. Any leftover energy stayed safely inside the tower as reserve power. Weekly running costs hit 2 crystals per tower, plus 5 for the main structure. That stored energy easily keeps everything perfectly operational for a while. The raw firepower was incredible. Aisha kept cheering. Every single beast stepping into range got instantly shredded. The sniper tower locked onto a magic lizard over 200 meters away and pierced its skull. But the beast kept moving, even with completely maxed out damage and penetration. Dropping just 1 lizard took 2 full shots. That seriously worried me. These were only 3rd floor beasts. If I hadn't upgraded tonight, we absolutely wouldn't have made it. Right now, watching the towers work was thrilling instead of terrifying, but I couldn't relax. My shelter was just getting started. I used the crystal tower's new moving ability to rearrange our entire layout. The God of Architecture statue and Horn of Plenty went straight to the west side. The treasure basin got moved to the front door and hidden under a round wooden board, like a lid. My crew knew its secret, but outsiders definitely wouldn't spot a glowing golden crystal bowl just sitting out in the open. FIA wandered over, asking why I had so many strange statues and buildings around here. I claimed they were wonders, symbols of civilization and culture. I said we couldn't just survive. We needed some serious spiritual enrichment too. She almost believed me, then squinted suspiciously. I maintained a perfectly straight face. She bluntly reminded me she was only staying 1 month, 2 harvests, then leaving. I didn't argue. Her main goal was advancing to plant science master, and my unique knowledge could definitely get her there. When the time finally arrived, she'd make her own choice. By next morning, Shah had already gathered the crystals from our treasure basin, safely hiding them inside the secret stash. I checked the remaining wonders available on page 2. Guardian statues took way too much time, and extra defense wasn't my priority right now. But that horn of submission? Super interesting. Blow it, and one monster within 5 meters instantly surrenders. You're probably thinking the same thing. Could this actually tame a dragon? That 5-meter range was tricky. I could either capture a beast and drag it close, or just leave the horn on the front line. With the 30-day cooldown, choosing carefully was absolutely essential. What I actually wanted most was the statue of the hunting goddess. Every arrow tower trains 1 archery master, boosting all shelter bow damage by 50%. If I became a master myself, I could finally protect my own back outside the walls. I chose to build the Horn of Submission first. 4 workers, 36 hours, definitely doable starting today. Then, we'd start that hunting goddess statue with whatever time was left over. Soon, it showed up delivering a strong female camel beast, feed, my 50 crystal purchase, and obviously, fresh milk. I finally sat down for a nice breakfast. I cooked vegetable porridge. FIA stumbled out grumpy with messy bed hair. Little Pillow simply sat there, staring at the warm food with big round eyes. I poured the milk into 3 cups, just enough for 3 servings. I handed them to Pillow, Aisha, and FIA. None left for me. Harper rushed in, frantically apologizing for Pillow, wandering into the main cabin. I smiled, saying it was totally fine, and the kid should just eat with us from now on. She looked like she was about to cry. She bowed and left, glancing back at Pillow with pure relief written all over her face. So what do we think? Life's getting better. Until FIA gave her milk a totally disgusted look. Alright, stick with me here. She actually claimed milk is for kids. And a real breakfast is beer and raw eggs. Yeah, enjoy that stomach ache. She completely froze, quietly asking if that explained her recent stomach problems. Pillow instantly chugged her milk, tail wagging like crazy, staring up with pure, sparkling eyes. Aisha tried sliding her cup my way, but I told her to keep it. We would just make Luke bring more tomorrow. Those 2 hens I bought still needed a few more days before laying any eggs. I reminded FIA to cook things properly. No more raw eggs. Work starts at 7. I handed the Horn of Submission blueprint to the 4-dog beastkin, sending them out to gather stone and build. FIA was out expanding the farmland and mixing fertilizer. Hilariously, struggling with the shovel that was literally bigger than she was. Aisha actually tried to go help with the construction, but I quickly stopped her. Since the beastkin handled heavy labor, her new job was learning to operate the crystal towers. Material moving ability. I taught her the steps, and she nailed it perfectly. Finally, some real free time. I settled the new camel beast into a temporary stable, and immediately started planning a proper forge for Harper. Suddenly, a stranger showed up. A human guy riding a brown warhorse, rocking light armor, a sword at his hip, and a recurved bow on his back. He parked right outside my arrow tower range. Said he did not actually know me, but totally knew my good neighbor. Old Griffin had just sold a massive batch of healing potions in the city, and this guy knew Griffin definitely could not craft those himself. He heard my name from Luke and Noah, those 2 brothers who seriously could not keep their mouths shut. He took one look at my shelter and laughed. Called it a wall-free joke, wasting time on useless decorations instead of building farms. Now pay attention, things are getting tense. He demanded 100 medicine doses by tomorrow morning. If I failed, big consequences. But I kept my absolute cool and analyzed the whole situation. Inside my crystal tower's range, I was untouchable. Those arrow towers would instantly obliterate anyone who entered. Tower masters rarely fought directly because of that. But this guy could totally ambush me the second I left the shelter. Ambushes were incredibly common out here. Coming to threaten me instead of old Griffin meant he was clearly still terrified of a real bowmaster. Once I finished the hunting goddess statue, my shelter would officially boast 3 archery masters. Throw in the horn of submission and the guardian statues, and my defenses become unbreakable. I just needed more time. Every single wonder I built multiplied my power. Keeping my cool, I offered a simple trade instead of exchanging threats. I warned him that making an enemy here was a massive mistake. He just laughed, mocking my level 3 wall-free tower. Acting tough. Turning his horse around, he rode off, completely, warning me to have those goods ready by morning. As he rode off, I caught him secretly dropping something into the sand. It gave me a terrible feeling. This guy had real killing intent in his eyes. He was not just some random bully, he was super dangerous. I absolutely needed to uncover his true identity. I planned to warn Luke and old Griffin that the medicine water attracted unwanted attention. But first, I needed maximum security upgrades. I called Harper over. She came sprinting from the construction site, completely covered in thick dust. I asked what she needed to set up a forge. Without hesitating, she listed a furnace, anvil, and tools, all available in the city. I promised to take her shopping soon for farming tools, weapons, bows, and construction materials. Her eyes completely lit up. She thought her forging days were totally over. Let that sink in for a second. Running her very own workshop felt like an unbelievable dream come true. Sending her back to work, I wandered over to watch FIA. She was visibly struggling to turn the soil and immediately yelled at me to help. I did not budge. After days of heavy construction, I absolutely earned the right to just stand around and supervise. I casually asked what a near master plant scientist could actually do. She instantly puffed up with massive pride. Basic experts can identify most crops and herbs, knowing exactly how to effectively plant and preserve them. But someone at her elite level, they can sense a plant's life force and selectively breed the absolute best specimens across generations. FIA bragged that her crops yielded at least 20% more than normal. But digging deeper, I realized she worked purely on instinct and experience. Zero actual theory behind it. She could somehow sense which plants were stronger, but she honestly had no idea why. I asked if she ever noticed distinct patterns when crossbreeding plants. She scoffed, saying hybridization experiments were a basic requirement for becoming a master. She had detailed notebook records, so I told her to grab it. I was about to teach her something called the hypothetical deductive method. Science time. She laughed at me teaching a plant expert, but I instantly sprinted over, hearing the word lesson, and heavily scolded FIA for disrespecting a legendary architect. Using FIA's data explained basic statistics and Mendel's principles. You and I just witnessed science history. I grasped it all in one pass. Let's dive in. FIA was trying so hard to connect the dots. Her brain practically overloaded. She sat there scratching her head while I finished up and took a break. Panic hit her hard. She knew a huge breakthrough was right around the corner. That missing piece to becoming a plant science master was sitting right there, just barely out of reach. She immediately chased down Aisha, offering wild bribes of sweet honey, fruit, wine, and secret brewing recipes. Aisha politely turned her down, saying my knowledge required my permission to share. So FIA finally came running straight to me, completely begging. Her loyalty hit 76. I simply told Aisha to go ahead and teach her the skills. FIA dropped straight to the ground with a massive grin, promising to brew me fresh beer soon. Her loyalty spiked to 82. Over 80 meant zero worries about her ever turning her back on me. Keeping her at the shelter permanently would still take some extra effort. So I went inside to draw up new blueprints. As a former architect, sketching the layout was easy. I designed a 2-story stone castle. The first floor had a kitchen, dining room, servant quarters, and washroom. The second floor held over 10 massive bedrooms. plus a wraparound balcony offering a perfect view of our entire shelter. Those outer walls would be half a meter thick. I also designed special pipes to bring holy spring water inside, a solid drainage system, and fully working flush toilets. Right outside the castle, I mapped out spots for a blacksmith shop, a stable, expanded farmland, and spots for future wonders. Those statue wonders belonged right on the perimeter. Once built, they were nearly indestructible, serving as perfect barriers against sudden attacks. Right at noon, Harper brought those beastkin workers straight back. Watch what happens next. Aisha cooked hot vegetable porridge packed with dried meat. Those tired workers finally believed my promise was completely real. Their faces lit up with pure gratitude. Made with holy spring water, the porridge easily restored all their energy too. After finishing, they rushed straight back to work without even resting. Meanwhile, Fia stumbled out, completely overwhelmed by everything Aisha just taught her. She asked where I was. Aisha said I was in the kitchen making something truly special. I stir-fried fresh meat and crisp vegetables using rich animal fat and spices. Nothing fancy, but after days of plain food, it tasted absolutely incredible. I set the hot plate on the table. Powell's nose twitched non-stop, and her tail went totally wild. Fia shoved a massive piece of meat into her mouth, declaring it as amazing as a city tavern. We just needed alcohol. Aisha politely waited for me to sit down. I pulled out my hand-carved chopsticks and dug right in. Lunch was a massive hit. Aisha and Pell seriously could not stop eating. Though Pell looked about 7, she crushed 2 huge bowls of soup and kept going. Her status never even showed she was full. Fia just complained about wanting cold beer. That afternoon, I showed Aisha my castle blueprint. She stared at it with glowing eyes, claiming it was 100 times more beautiful than any noble's mansion back in the city. I casually asked how long a pro team would take to build it. She estimated 3 to 4 months under an expert, but only 1 month with the true master. I asked what made those architecture masters so special. She explained it was the absolute most powerful profession in the wasteland. Every master unlocks a special trait. The most common trait lets them rapidly fuse materials into solid structures. Paired with a crystal tower, their speed doubles. The strongest masters could raise a fortress from flat ground instantly. Then she paused, looking totally confused. I know what you're thinking. Why ask? She decided I was just a master testing her basic knowledge. I handed her the detailed blueprint and told her to build it. Once she became a master, this would be our home. She held those pages like sacred, magical treasures. Her eyes got misty when I said our home. Honestly, I just didn't want to do the heavy building work myself. Her skill progress was close to mine anyway. Once she hit master, it just relax. I ordered her to keep helping with wonder construction, but as a supervisor, not a simple laborer. She'd watch from the side and direct everyone. Just like a foreman, my exact job before entering this world. I just kicked back and napped in my chair. By late afternoon, the 4 beastkin completely finished the Horn of Submission. After over 8 hours of work, I activated the guide. That human-sized horn expanded in a blinding flash of golden light. I carefully placed it at the shelter's edge, right on the absolute front line. Tonight, I'd test it on something powerful. A massive magic lizard, 5 or 6 meters long, would be perfect. It could pull carts to the city or haul materials around the construction site. My architecture skill hit 16 out of 20, and Aisha reached 15. Just one more wonder, and we'd both hit the threshold for master rank. I quickly checked the beastkin stats. None gained architecture skills from building. They just didn't have the foundation. Aisha started as an apprentice with basic knowledge, but she possessed completely legendary talent. I had a lifetime of experience. The beastkin just became skilled manual laborers, never advancing further. Stick with me, you'll want to see what we build next. Let's dive back in. I almost taught them, but remembered Fia's utterly blank face. Yeah, totally dropped that idea. Aisha was a rare genius. Not everyone learns instantly. So, I revealed my next epic project. The hunting goddess statue, which I desperately wanted to construct. Once completed, every arrow tower trains a master archer. Plus, all bow and tower damage inside our base jumps 50%. I could finally defend myself. 144 hours total. Basically 3 solid days of work. Harper quickly rallied the beastkin crew. Those guys refused to rest. The holy spring water fueled their energy, and they started immediately. I strolled back and saw old Griffin approaching with someone brand new. His eldest son, Jet. I knew his brothers, but never him. I quickly scanned him. An archery expert, just like his brothers. Only old Griffin possessed master rank. Seeing them standing there, I thought about my goddess statue finishing up, and made a mental note. I definitely needed to ask Griffin for a solid bow. The old man rode over, shouting. He instantly spotted my horn of submission. Real shock flashed across his face, but he hid it fast. Then he completely changed topics, praising my epic new buildings as excellent architecture. I humbly waved it off. He brought fantastic news. My extra tower core was ready, and he handed me 1,200 blue crystals from our water sales. He mentioned the hype had totally spread through the city. Demand was skyrocketing. We definitely needed another supply run soon. Plus, his decade-old back pain had completely vanished after just drinking our magical spring water. He actually offered to hit the city's flower district to celebrate. I awkwardly coughed and pivoted topics. I brought up the armed rider who threatened me earlier. Old Griffin's expression instantly darkened. He apologized. His sons accidentally dropped my name, and someone definitely overheard. His oldest son, Jet, explained everything. The northern regions suffered way worse than us. Countless shelters and entire cities had fallen to monsters. Displaced soldiers and desperate refugees drifted south. Some claimed crystal towers and survived through brutal raiding and extortion. A sketchy group of rogue soldiers had settled in the Rocky Mountains, 15 kilometers up north. They previously tried threatening the Griffin family, but quickly backed off after realizing they were expert archers. Now, pay close attention here. That matched the rider perfectly. Military stance, pure killing intent. But those fallen cities? That terrified me. I had seen those city walls. Absolutely massive, built to withstand legendary horrors. Their army was completely stacked with black iron armor, expert archers everywhere, and even a mystical fortune teller. If a powerhouse like that got wiped out and turned into bandits, this underground monster threat was far worse than I initially realized. Old Griffin seriously warned me to stay careful. I nodded, then asked about any spare bows. Jet just laughed, claiming archery takes years of hardcore training. A beginner's arrow wouldn't even scratch a goblin, much less pierce magic lizard scales. Old Griffin was way kinder. Wanting self-defense was smart, but crafting decent bows actually required super rare materials they totally lacked. He offered an ordinary 80-pound bow instead, but honestly, I could see he highly doubted I could even draw the string properly. I totally kept quiet. I couldn't reveal the hunting goddess statue yet. He called it a gift between friends, offering to have Luke deliver it. I asked about master archer abilities, and the old man laughed proudly. Every master unlocks a unique power. His own ability was the legendary lightning bow. His arrows packed pure electricity, paralyzing entire enemy squads in one single shot. After they left, I stared at my weak arms, overthinking the problem. I know what you are thinking. Magic statue equals instant power, right? But even as an archery master still needed actual muscle for strong bows. Thinking about Griffin's arms, literally thicker than my own legs, plus those crazy calluses. I definitely needed to start working out instead of just lounging in my chair all day. That evening, everyone gathered around the crystal tower. I confidently announced my wild plan to tame a monster tonight using the Horn of Submission. Fia totally scoffed. She asked if I thought monsters would become magically loyal like the beastkin, just from drinking holy water. Aisha and Harper glared hard until she finally shrank back. I patted the horn, explaining the rule. One blast within 5 meters guarantees absolute monster submission. Only one shot, so I had to choose carefully. Aisha figured it out immediately. She had already noticed the pattern. Every single wonder possessed crazy effects. The holy spring healed wounds, and the treasure basin printed money. Architecture sped up. Our building, the Horn of Plenty, instantly boosted crops. A magical horn taming scary monsters? That fit perfectly. She genuinely begged to do it herself, claiming it was way too dangerous. I flat out refused. I had to control the arrow towers, letting exactly one monster slip through. Meanwhile, I needed her operating the crystal tower, shifting stone slabs into instant defensive barriers if things went terribly wrong. She tried arguing, but trust me, and I know I will totally run if things go south. Alright, come along with me on this one. The risk was real, but totally worth it. By nightfall, those arrow towers started working. I patiently waited for a magic lizard, my main taming target. My trusty dog Beast used her awesome night vision to watch the dark horizon. Finally, a magic lizard appeared. But before I could even move, the ground rumbled, and Harper's ears twitched. She noticed something underground. FI grabbed my arm, completely shaking, before suddenly realizing exactly what it was. A ground dragon, an epic tier 3 monster that normally lives deep near underground mineral veins. It literally never shows up near surface shelters. FIA panicked, saying tier 3 beasts easily smash city walls. Even a full squad of elite knights could never defeat one. Everyone panicked. Aisha bravely stepped forward, holding my arm tightly. I told them to relax. I felt slightly nervous, but honestly, mostly hyped. I kept the horn of submission right beside me. If that giant dragon got within 5 meters, I could totally tame it. A tier 3 monster as my personal servant? That changes everything. Suddenly, the ground swelled, and the massive creature violently burst outward. Its fierce head featured heavily armored scales and cold, glowing metallic eyes, topped perfectly with 2 awesome little spiral horns. This absolute unit was the size of a truck, easily twice as big as any magic lizard. It sniffed the air, quickly digging up a glowing blue crystal fragment from the sand. Letting out a surprisingly sad cry, it made me narrow my eyes. That crystal sat right where the armed rider stopped earlier today. This was absolutely no random coincidence. He totally planted it there to lure the ground dragon over, using the beast as a wild threat, showing he could literally smash my shelter anytime he ever wanted to. Watch closely, guys. The dragon glared at us, red fury burning in its eyes. I genuinely thought it would charge, but then, it suddenly jerked its massive head, sensed something completely different, dove back underground, and vanished. I felt incredibly frustrated. So close. That tricky rider definitely lured it away using another shiny crystal fragment elsewhere. He avoided destroying me completely today, just applying heavy pressure. Most shelter owners would completely panic seeing a tier 3 monster outside. What he totally missed was that I actively wanted him to send the beast right back. A tier 3 beast burrowing underground with epic combat power? That was exactly the awesome creature I wanted to tame. Knowing exactly how they controlled it meant catching this amazing dragon was just a matter of time. I happily told everyone to relax. If it returned, we would tame it. FIA told me to stop bragging, claiming only the gentle goddess of plenty's magical blessing actually saved us tonight. She immediately turned toward the Horn of Plenty statue, praying softly. Aisha brightly smiled at me, cheerfully saying she knew we would be perfectly fine. I happily decided to save my horn of submission for the ground dragon. No sense wasting it on a weaker beast. I posted the team on rotating night watch and slept. Later that very night, I heard someone knocking down the hall. FIA randomly showed up at Aisha's door, tightly clutching her blanket. She nervously claimed she was worried. Aisha felt too scared sleeping alone, simply coming over to keep her company tonight. So FIA arrived with her blanket, totally pretending she worried about Aisha feeling frightened. But Aisha saw right through the cute act, hilariously making her admit she was actually the terrified one. She let her inside. I heard everything through those thin walls. That's definitely another huge reason to build a new castle soon. I stayed awake planning things, sketching cool city wall designs based on medieval fortifications. Simple and amazingly strong. I know what you're thinking. That arrogant rider totally expects me to surrender tomorrow. But I made a much wilder plan instead. I actually planned to make him absolutely furious enough to send it again. Morning finally came. Luke happily delivered 4 servings of fresh milk, a shiny hardwood longbow, and broad head arrows specially designed for giant monsters. Harper explained making the bow was super simple, but crafting awesome arrowheads definitely required a proper, working forge. Training an awesome apprentice blacksmith for that takes at least 2 weeks. After breakfast, the whole team cheerfully got to work. Harper's loyalty quietly jumped to 90, while Aisha proudly reached 95. FIA hovered around 85, busily running some awesome field experiments using all the cool genetics theories Aisha taught. I finished 2 energetic sets of morning exercises near the holy spring before happily returning to my blueprints. Then that annoying rider appeared, smirking widely. He sarcastically asked if I enjoyed my night. I totally faked a flawless act, showing just the perfect amount of dramatic shock. Accusing him of controlling the dragon, he just laughed loudly, demanding I hand over the medicine immediately. I proudly refused, telling him I completely doubted his ability to control a tier 3 beast. I boldly called his massive bluff. I confidently turned my back away, stunned, then absolutely furious. He wildly screamed that my amazing beastkin and I would be completely wiped out tonight. Throwing one epic final insult as he left, I mocked him to stop hiding like a scared rat, daring him to bring his big dragon daddy tonight. If he actually had the guts, he angrily almost drew his bow, but remained way too far from me, while standing dangerously close to my arrow towers. He rode away completely shaking with pure rage. I secretly watched him right before he vanished over the horizon. He tossed 2 crystals into the sand, and Harper found them instantly. So, what do you and I expect tomorrow? Total payback. Trust me. Stick with me. I instantly recognized these 2 glowing stones filled with starlight. Back in her mining days, discovering something like this terrified her boss so badly, he forced everyone to bury it and completely abandon the whole shaft. FIA took one look, declaring they weren't crystals at all, but ground dragon droppings. I immediately dropped them, flinching. Not FIA. She calmly grabbed them, explaining these weren't standard waste. Dragons leave these defensive mineral deposits after laying eggs to shield their nests, packed with iron ore. This proved our beast lived right near an iron deposit. Apparently, wealthy nobles actually ground these stones into powder and drank it up. Aisha covered her mouth, absolutely horrified. FIA sighed, reminding us it was technically still excrement. Then she proved my theory. Those rogue riders definitely raided the dragon's nest, probably stealing its eggs. The beast was tracking these stones, hunting whoever wrecked its home. Right then, formed an epic plan. Tonight, I'd use these exact stones to lure the dragon straight toward the Horn of Submission. Meanwhile, our awesome hunting goddess statue hit day 2 of construction. 2 more days until completion, which meant I'd become an absolute archery master tomorrow night. I hyped up the beastkin workers before starting my daily workout routine. FIA yelled at me, demanding I help with farming instead. I smoothly explained that since she was half my height, she lifted things half the distance, making her naturally way more efficient than me. So basically, me skipping farm work actually saved us labor costs. She just stared at me, completely baffled. I spent the whole afternoon preparing. These wonders were completely indestructible. I positioned the statue-shaped ones along the shelter's outer edge for ultimate defense, right behind the submission horn's solid stone base. Watch closely here. Standing up there meant the dragon couldn't strike from below. Rehearsing the plan, I knew 5 meters was perfectly generous. If the beast surfaced and lunged straight at me, I'd sprint circles around the horn, dodging perfectly like some ancient king evading an epic assassin. At lunch, Harper closely examined my new bow, confirming exactly what I already knew. Decent materials, sure, but absolutely too weak to pierce anything past a tier 1 monster. She glanced at my skinny arms, wisely keeping her mouth shut. She promised to forge a much stronger bow once I gained real muscle, and she built a proper forge. Then, night finally fell. Standing entirely alone on the horn's base, I kept one hand perfectly ready on the mouthpiece. Those 2 crimson stones sat atop the statue, glowing intensely like bright rubies locked inside ancient amber. Basic monsters swarmed first, but our upgraded towers absolutely shredded them. Half an hour passed before the earth violently shook. Aisha tightly gripped her holy spring water, entirely ready to cleanse the dragon's wild berserk curse upon capture. FIA hid behind her, repeatedly muttering this was completely insane. Harper crouched down, trembling, yet ready to strike if disaster struck. I watched that massive yellow dirt trail racing straight toward me. 50 meters, 30, then 20. I quickly ordered our defense towers to completely hold their fire. At 7 or 8 meters, the massive beast violently exploded from the earth. Pure momentum, launching it directly at me. I was already blowing the horn. A heavy, ancient sound blasted across the wasteland. You felt it, right? A powerful call, echoing from an era when civilization and wilderness were completely one. The beastkin felt it hardest. The monster slammed into the statue. I'd already ducked behind it. Smart move. Standing perfectly still would have instantly gotten me crushed. The whole crew rushed forward screaming my name, until I happily peeked out and just grinned. The massive 10-meter beast lay draped over the horn's base, dazed from impact. Something powerful was shifting inside its mind. An absolute, impossible to resist urge to submit. Slowly, it lowered its huge head. I simply walked up and patted it. Good girl. I shot quickly splashed the holy spring water over the dragon. Immediately, the dark erosion fog began hissing safely away. She beamed at me with absolute admiration. FIA's jaw literally dropped wide open. She nervously sputtered, "How massive kingdom spent centuries taming basic magic wolves." While I succeeded with just one epic horn blow, I immediately checked the dragon's stats. Female, loyalty, 100, rare mineral sensing talent. Status displayed confusion, heartbreaking grief over missing offspring, and absolute. Total loyalty. She could actually understand my words partially. I told the group to suggest names. FIA enthusiastically jumped right in. She mentioned some ancient dragons sealed inside a stone valley. A 1,000-year-old mythical beast named Duomo, who supposedly swallowed the entire sun and moon. So, she suggested naming our dragon Duo. A quick vote went 6-1 against her. We officially named her Mosh. I circled Mosh twice, feeling incredibly pleased with every step. 10 meters long, heavily armored and tough scales, and capable of rapid underground burrowing. A Tier 3 monster, officially mine. FIA pointed out that ground dragons live near mineral veins and absolutely require raw ore to eat. This meant a huge iron deposit was nearby, probably the exact same spot where those rogue soldiers raided Mosh's nest, stealing her eggs and using crystal eggshells to weaponize her against other local shelters. Trust me, you'll love this. Securing that iron mine means Harper can finally forge all the epic tools, weapons, and armor we'd ever need. I looked at Moj like she was my absolute treasure. I told her to rest safely underground for right now. You and I are about to watch the ultimate payback against the villains who ruined her precious nest. Her system status showed deep sorrow for her missing babies. She nodded, totally getting what I meant. Her massive body slid backward, vanishing into the ground. The beastkin worked all night, super focused, with 0 new threats arriving. That ground dragon was definitely their only real trump card. By dawn, the workers were back on the site. They were pushing crazy, 16-hour days instead of 12. The hunting goddess statue was practically finished up. They finished completely before noon. I promised extra meat for everyone's lunch today. Harper smiled, saying they were already super thankful for the food, breaks, and holy spring water. I couldn't stop people who happily wanted to push harder, so I decided to feed them even better. Then that rider suddenly returned, bringing 2 extra guys riding tough warhorses. Seeing my shelter standing perfectly fine, all 3 totally froze. Their leader, Lucas, had the coldest, creepiest vulture eyes. That annoying rider who threatened me was Kieran. Lucas furiously demanded why the dragon had not wrecked my entire shelter. Kieran checked his hidden crystal spot, completely gone. They instantly bickered. Kieran admitted the dragon was just a silly scare tactic that first night, which totally tipped me off to their plan. Lucas completely chewed him out. I stood by my shelter, happily waving, and asked if they wanted to chat. Kieran totally lost his cool and started screaming wild threats at me. Lucas quietly shut him down and calmly stated that hiding inside forever was impossible. Watch how brilliantly our guy handles this. He threatened to end me, but I just smiled. Mentioning I was visiting the city today to sell extra medicine, I dared them to try and stop me with a bigger crew. They furiously rode off. I stretched and casually walked inside, trap perfectly set. Once the ground dragon defeated them, I would keep one awake to reveal their secret iron mine location. Luke arrived bringing fresh milk. I handed him 20 crystals, requesting 2 massive 120-pound longbows and exactly 100 arrows. He delivered them super fast, riding off, totally thrilled to spend his extra tip money downtown. By 10 in the morning, the hunting goddess statue was fully completed. I happily activated the guide. The sculpture exploded with gorgeous golden light, growing 12 or 13 meters high. Then an amazing feeling hit me. Aisha definitely felt it too. We crossed that magic threshold together. We were officially architecture masters now. Aisha stared at her own hands in pure disbelief. Happy tears filled her eyes. She gratefully thanked me, but I insisted she totally earned it. I quickly tested my new shaping ability. I focused on a ground stone. It broke apart, magically reassembling into a little statue. It drained my energy like a 50-meter sprint, but it totally worked. Aisha got the transport ability. She could rapidly extract and magically move underground materials. Let us pause a second to appreciate this upgrade. FIA overheard us and totally realized Aisha mastered architecture, which is literally the absolute hardest profession. She dramatically broke down crying. She explored half the continent, cataloging 5,000 plants, yet never achieved plant science master status. She stood there bawling her eyes out, wailing to the goddess of plenty about how totally unfair this entire situation was. Aisha sweetly comforted her, promising she would reach master level 2 by staying with us. FIA barely heard her. Then came the ultimate prize. Touching the hunting goddess statue, I discovered 5 massive streams of hidden power inside, matching every arrow tower. I pulled one directly inside myself. Incredible memories flooded my brain, millions of repetitions drawing, aiming, and releasing arrows. Thousands of hardcore training hours magically compressed into 2 minutes of pure, raw knowledge transfer. Opening my eyes, I checked my new stats. Architecture master, bowmaster, civil engineering expert. I was finally a serious force alone. I confidently grabbed the longbow, drawing an arrow back. The second my fingers touched the string, flawless shooting instincts just flooded my hands. I calmly aimed at a rock wall 100 meters away, releasing instantly. The arrow became a total blur, activating my epic master ability. Time basically stopped completely. My vision totally merged with the flying weapon. I became the arrow, steering it mid-flight up, down, left, anywhere. I could even make the thing accelerate, guiding it way past its normal 90-meter range. I smashed it into a hillside tree. Harper dramatically gasped. Aisha asked when I learned to shoot like that, since I recently failed at 20 meters. I just smiled, asking if she wanted to learn this trick too. Her eyes widened completely. I transferred a second power stream from the goddess statue into her, repeating it for Harper. Boom! 3 archery masters from one single wonder. Harper opened her eyes first, eagerly grabbing a bow to fire. Her arrow smashed into a boulder 100 meters away, cracking it like spiderwebs. Her epic master ability was armor piercing. She could instantly shoot through solid stone and heavy armor. Trust me, you and I just witnessed Aisha unlock crazy speed, firing arrows in an absolute blur. Stick with me. Over 10 arrows fired in seconds, landing perfectly inside a tiny circle on that hill, splitting the ones already stuck there. With these 2, I finally felt totally safe. Meanwhile, FIA just stood there, staring at all of us, completely confused. She literally watched 3 normal people close their eyes briefly and suddenly turn into master archers. She complained about wanting to become a master too. I knew she was incredibly close. Her plant science stat sat at 19 out of 20. Once these crops finished growing and proved the genetic theory I taught her, she would finally cross that line. I opened my Wonder Construction Guide to build guardian statues, but then I noticed something epic. Page 3 was unlocked. Meanwhile, some mysterious stuff was happening at the Griffin shelter that I would only discover later. Old Griffin gathered his sons once Luke returned from delivering those bows. Luke mentioned my newest statue, a giant sculpture of a woman holding a massive bow. Old Griffin thought it was super strange that a simple statue builder survived 2 beast waves and actually possessed miracle medicine. Noah excitedly guessed I might be the secret heir to a powerful city or kingdom, maybe even a hidden noble child. That theory totally explained my massive resources and how I upgraded my shelter so fast. Even before selling holy water, Jed totally agreed. During that intense beast wave night, they all assumed I was a goner. A level 1 tower just should not survive. Old Griffin told his boys to remember one crucial rule: always help me out whenever possible. The old man looked incredibly exhausted. He warned that the wasteland was growing more dangerous daily. His level 3 tower and wooden walls simply would not hold forever. Upgrading to level 4 cost 5 pink crystals, literally their entire life savings. Now pay attention here. He realized I was their ultimate backup plan. Since my identity was completely shrouded in mystery, my abilities were absolutely impossible to figure out, and I always kept things under control. Then he ordered Luke to bring me a dairy cow alongside tomorrow's milk delivery. Noah protested. They only had 3 cows and could not buy more. Old Griffin firmly told him to just do it. I excitedly opened the Wonder Construction Guide, and page 3 was waiting for me with amazing new wonders. Blessed Beehive Honey strengthens the body and adds 10 housing slots. The Fallen Star Forge doubles smelting speed and might even improve our equipment quality. The Polar Frost Nest is a freezer-preserving food for ages. And the Holy Shield actually doubles wall durability while adding sweet self-repair. Build times jumped from simple hours to entire days, and each project required 5 to 10 workers. I needed more people immediately. Ranking them mentally, the Beehive came first for sweet food, housing slots, and major physical enhancement. My weak body desperately needed that physical boost. The Forge came second, supporting Harper's blacksmithing. The second, we secured iron. The Frost Nest could wait, since winter would naturally keep food cold. And the Holy Shield clearly needed walls first. But before any of those cool upgrades, I still had the Guardian statues from page 2. 4 stone guardians patrolling the shelter every night. 3 days of solid work for people. I activated the blueprint and sent the beastkin to start building it. Then I crouched down and called Moj out of the dirt. Her massive head fiercely broke right through the surface. Let's pause for a second. I asked if she wanted sweet revenge, and she roared, fully knowing who destroyed her eggs. I mounted the camel beast, bringing Aisha and Harper along. 3 archery masters riding out to an epic fight. FIA anxiously watched us leave, tightly clutching Little Pillow. She nervously suggested we could just hide inside the shelter forever. The crops were growing insanely fast, ready to harvest in 3 days. I confidently told her not to underestimate 3 master archers. She quietly repeated the word master to herself, and seemed to relax. She happily waved goodbye, and then something clicked in her brain. She had been turning over the genetics data, thinking about Pillow's tail and inherited traits. The theory suddenly made sense on a deep level. She just became a plant science master. I had already picked our epic battleground, an open plain on the city road featuring a red rock formation. Perfect cover for 3 archers, plus a tier 3 ground dragon hiding completely underground nearby. If I were the enemy, I would completely despair. We split 100 arrows between us and waited. They arrived fast. Over 20 cavalry charging on armored horses with lances and swords, plus archers. I had already noticed someone tailing us. They took the bait completely. Kieran rode in front, bow already drawn, angrily screaming that I would never make it home. Lucas commanded them to wipe us out and seize my shelter. Kieran fired first, but Harper was way faster. Her arrow screamed through the air, sounding exactly like a shrieking ghost. It perfectly intercepted Kieran's arrow mid-flight, and just kept going. Kieran threw himself off his horse just in time. The man right behind him took the arrow straight through the throat. Lucas yelled for shields. He angrily cursed. 2 archery masters in this remote wasteland. He quickly ordered a massive cavalry charge to close the distance before we could pick them off. These well-trained soldiers formed up instantly. I drew my bow. Trust me, you're going to love this part. Seeing 3 archery masters aiming at him, pure fear finally crossed Lucas's face. He rode straight into an absolute nightmare, quickly raising his shield and swerving. My arrow curved through the air like absolute magic, tracking him perfectly and adjusting its path no matter how he dodged. One scream, and the fight was instantly over. Trust me, we are watching a totally one-sided wipeout. Lucas frantically threw himself off his horse to use it as a shield. But I just curved my arrow round the animal, striking the guy right next to him. Meanwhile, Harper's arrows absolutely shattered everything in their path. Aisha became a total blur, firing so incredibly fast she vanished. Every single arrow hit its mark like a guided missile. The front line collapsed instantly, and the backline archers fell before they could even fire another shot. Lucas screamed to retreat. Then Moj violently burst from the ground behind him. He recognized that sound. He had used the ground dragon against others before. Turning around, he saw a massive open mouth completely full of terrifying teeth. I shouted at Moj to stop. She swatted the guy with a massive claw the size of a grown man. He flew like a ragdoll while I sniped the runners with guided arrows. 3 escaped my range. I used my architecture master ability to raise huge stone spikes from the ground directly in their path. Their horses crashed. I sent Moj to finish them. 20-something soldiers, all completely defeated except one. I walked straight up to Kieran, the guy who started this mess. Shaking on the ground, he stared like I was an absolute monster wearing a human disguise. He couldn't understand our 3 archery masters and tamed ground dragon. He begged for his life and immediately offered up secret information. He confessed the city's pharmacist guild was actually pulling the strings behind them. When beast waves spread a terrible plague, those pharmacists falsely claimed they had absolutely zero medicine. But when my holy water dropped, listen to this. Those pharmacists paid them to threaten me, steal my stock, and completely wipe out my entire shelter. They wanted their monopoly back. Old Griffin had warned me, so we sold quietly through local shops to avoid their shady attention. It wasn't enough. Aisha was furious. She hissed like an angry bird, swearing we would make them pay. I gently patted her head, promising I had plenty of ways to handle them. Kieran then confirmed only he and Lucas actually knew my secret connection to the medicine. The rest of those soldiers were right here, and they were completely defeated. Now, perfect. No information leaks. Then I asked about the iron mine. Kieran spilled everything. They had found a heavily hidden crystal tower inside a northern red rock mountain, complete with a massive mining pit dug by the dragon. Below it sat a huge iron deposit. Lucas destroyed the dragon's nest, stealing her eggs and using the eggshell crystals to completely terrorize neighboring shelters. Harper rounded up 8 warhorses and collected every single dropped weapon. She brought me a magnificent red stallion, tall, strong, and looking absolutely incredible. Kieran immediately started flattering me, claiming the horse belonged to their former knight commander and was destined for a great leader. Like me, I just rolled my eyes. The kid had a real talent for bootlicking. Harper tied him up and tossed him onto the camel beast. When he complained, she whipped him once and he went quiet. We didn't bother going home first. We rode straight north with the captured horses. Half an hour later, we reached a cluster of rocky hills, the soldiers' hideout. Kieran pointed inside. It was perfectly hidden unless you knew exactly where to look. You and I both know we are heading straight in, bows drawn and ready. Harper took point, scanning absolutely everything. Kieran claimed almost everyone had gone out to attack. Harper whipped him when he tried downplaying it, and Aisha confirmed she could hear people moving inside. He quickly admitted they were captured miners forced to work the iron deposit. The hideout was impressive. Natural rock walls on all sides, with only a few narrow passages that arrow towers could block. Nearly impossible to find from outside. Harper called it an excellent settlement. I'd already made up my mind. This place was officially mine. The fallen Starforge from page 3 needed to be built near a mine. This was perfect. Most owners wouldn't bother claiming a second crystal tower. It means double costs, double maintenance, and you need extra people to guard it. Usually, they just grab the arrow cores and sell the tower back to the city. But I wasn't. Most people, with the treasure basin and holy water income, crystals weren't my problem. Speed of development was. A second tower sitting on top of an iron mine would accelerate everything. A boy appeared between the rocks. Aisha put an arrow an inch from his eye. Before he could blink, he dropped to the ground begging. He was a captive. His contract had just dissolved, which meant his masters were defeated. He came out to check. I told him to take me to the others. He obeyed instantly, forgetting he was technically free now. Moj came lumbering in from the side. The boy nearly fainted. I patted the dragon's head, and she made a contented sound. The boy stared and dropped to his knees again. Inside the mine, 17 starving captives huddled together. Every single one dropped to their knees seeing the dragon. Trust me, you'll want to see what's next. He gave them 2 clear options. Walk away freely at dawn, or sign new contracts right now to get a hot meat porridge dinner tonight, plus an actual safe shelter built just for them. Stick with me here. He needed free workers, and these folks were already present. He hated the system, but normal contracts were too risky for unwatched strangers, especially since he totally planned to leave this entire group here mining ore. Divine contracts were the only safe bet. Amazingly, everyone eagerly chose to stay. Zero hesitation from the crowd, except for one guy. A man stepped up and bowed respectfully. Named Tony, he claimed to be a big city merchant whose trading caravan was brutally hijacked several months ago. With a wife and a 2-year-old son desperately waiting, he practically begged our hero to help him return home. Running massive caravans meant he wasn't small time. He needed elite guards, heavy wagons, solid connections, and serious cash. Definitely a useful ally. The main character invited him to the city tomorrow. Quickly checking his stats, Tony Ward possessed a super rare good luck talent. Senior Merchant, level 7 out of 20. Strangely, his status showed an active curse called Bad Luck Streak, mixed up with deep hunger, pain, and gratitude. Blessed with innate luck, yet totally cursed into getting kidnapped and forced into exhausting mind labor for 6 whole months, while his poor family worried. His incredible good luck got completely cancelled out. This was only the second abnormal status he had encountered besides dark erosion. Hopefully, their holy spring water could totally cleanse it. Now watch closely here. While pondering that mysterious curse, Harper uncovered a crude forging setup, complete with an anvil and hammers inside their hideout. The weapons those guards tried making were absolute garbage. We are talking crooked swords and badly bent spears, but the actual forging equipment was salvageable. Harper's tail went totally crazy, wagging when he promised she could run a real forge. He also promised her rare blueprints for a brand new furnace. She practically exploded with sheer excitement. She knew his creations always turned out absolutely legendary. Meanwhile, he discovered a glowing crystal tower perfectly hidden inside a secret rockwall cave. Incredibly well concealed. With 0 owners, he slammed his hand down, claiming it as a blinding blue light immediately flashed. Now, he owned 2 full shelters. His main base, plus this hidden mountain fortress with an iron mine and 2 arrow towers. He gave Kieran options. Sign the contract and mine, or share his friend's grim fate. Closing his eyes in misery, he quickly agreed. A young boy among the rescued miners stood out. He had a super rare talent called hostile intent detection. He would definitely bring him to the main base later for training. They rode back in under 30 minutes, finding FIA waiting at the entrance like a literal statue. She was absolutely beaming. Having become a plant science master, he checked her stats. Sure enough, plant science master, level 1 out of 50. Her status simply read pure joy. She proudly claimed she was the first halfling plant master in her family's history. He asked about her master ability. She could now greatly accelerate plant growth and shorten harvest cycles. Even better, crops grown with her awesome ability would temporarily boost the eater's raw strength. She handed over a weird black bean. Swallowing it, intense heat instantly spread through his entire body. His muscles tightened up, letting him draw a heavy longbow to full power with ease. This awesome boost lasted 30 minutes with 0 side effects. You and I both know this is insane. Perfect for buffing fighters right before an epic battle. Looking at those beans more closely, they seemed weirdly familiar. He asked what they were, and FIA cheerfully explained she had collected them at an oasis. The locals ground them into powder to drink with hot water. Actual coffee beans. He was finally going to experience real coffee again. Loading up fresh food and holy water, he made another quick trip to feed everyone at the mountain shelter. Afterward, he returned home to plan out tomorrow. Leaving the miners at the hidden mountain base, he planned to buy 15 more workers in the city. With enough manpower, 3 massive wonders could be run simultaneously. Better housing. Aisha and he were both architecture masters now. Throwing together small houses for the workers would take basically 0 time at all. He slept in a fantastic mood until Aisha finally woke him up for breakfast. He jokingly mentioned that someday she should wake him up wearing a classic maid outfit. Unsurprisingly, she turned incredibly bright red. FIA peeked inside, asking what a maid outfit was. He joked that folks of this era just couldn't appreciate his refined taste. Suddenly, he spotted Luke approaching while leading an unmistakable black and white dairy cow. His wealthy father sent it as a generous gift, thanking him for their highly profitable medicine partnership. He accepted it without hesitation. Old Griffin was clearly investing. That sly old fox clearly recognized his massive potential. Luke also mentioned his father graciously offered their family's prestigious Griffin name if those rogue guards ever caused trouble again. He casually replied that the specific problem was already handled. Luke excitedly asked if he wanted to join his family's big trip to the city today. Without a doubt, he enthusiastically agreed to go. Taking Aisha, Harper, and Merchant Tony along, they prepared for the city. When Old Griffin arrived to escort them, he immediately noticed those stolen war horses chilling in the stable. Trust me, watching his absolute shock when learning those guards were permanently handled and the guild orchestrated everything, completely priceless. Let's dive in. He swallowed hard, and Noah was totally stunned. An elite squad, completely gone. Old Griffin stayed completely silent. I knew those crazy theories were spinning inside his mind. He probably thought I was some rich lord's hidden heir commanding a massive secret army. Whatever wild ideas he had, it locked him into our alliance. Perfect. In town, I handed Harper 100 crystals for forging gear. Tony expressed his gratitude endlessly, then sprinted straight home to his lovely family. Meanwhile, Old Griffin left to gather the potion funds and silently investigate those shady pharmacists. Aisha and I stepped outside the gates to find Tigga, the trader. I needed more beastkin immediately. Their endurance was absolutely unmatched, especially after drinking holy water. They essentially worked like unstoppable machines. Buying them meant I could easily heal their dark erosion and completely free them. Tigga was overjoyed to see me, since beastkin were incredibly tough to sell. Suddenly, Aisha froze entirely. She rushed toward a cage, screaming a name. Sylvia, a sparrow beastkin, covered in terrible scratches, barely hanging on. They actually knew each other. Sylvia was basically an older sister to Aisha before the massive disaster. Sylvia explained that after her village fell 3 years ago, she joined another tribe. Sadly, that recent massive double beast wave wiped them out completely too. She completely lost control and went berserk mid-battle. Aisha frantically asked about her parents. Sylvia sadly shook her head. No luck finding them, just a wild rumor. Now watch closely. A hidden beastkin settlement formed up north, gathering tons of survivors, including sparrow beastkin. They somehow figured out how to control the berserking. I immediately signaled Tigga to release Sylvia. I ordered him to completely destroy her terrible slave contract. No replacement contract. She walks free. He hesitated, warning me she was still a beast. I just coldly told him to get it done. While those two excitedly caught up, I checked out the remaining stock. 30 beastkin were available. That was way too many for my current base, and feeding them meant trouble. I selected exactly 15 solid ones. 5 held rare skills like mining expert, swift speed, animal affinity, vigilance, and deft hands, plus 10 hard workers. No epic talents here, sadly. The average price set around 15 crystals each. I completely drained my treasure savings, but Old Griffin was bringing back 3,600 potion crystals. Soon, Tigga threw Sylvia in completely free. Smart guy keeping his absolute best customer happy. I questioned him regarding beastkin settlements. He totally confirmed Sylvia's story. A massive beastkin community expanded up north, somehow actively suppressing that berserking curse. They acted incredibly hostile toward outsiders, especially those greedy slave traders. They frequently raided passing caravans and eliminated the merchants. He strongly warned me against approaching them. I nodded, returning to find Aisha looking completely devastated. She softly thanked me for freeing Sylvia. The terribly thin woman bowed deeply toward me. I told Aisha to brush it off. Just standard employee benefits. Honestly, I didn't mention the northern beastkin settlement to her just yet. This whole situation felt incredibly complicated. I needed solid intel first to see if her family was actually there. I know what you're thinking. A random rescue? Meanwhile, check Sylvia's status window, and my jaw literally hit the absolute floor. Epic tier talent. Shadow affinity. Her profession? Expert level thief. Rank 2 of 20. Here, the thief class wasn't just stealing. It meant expert trap building, scouting, assassinations, and hardcore intelligence gathering. An expert level thief could smoothly infiltrate any building completely undetected. And that shadow affinity? It meant unlocking literal shadow magic upon hitting master rank. True magic was ridiculously rare out here. You could spend endless years studying inside a magic tower or get insanely lucky, receiving a random enchantment upon mastering your profession. Exactly like Old Griffin's lightning arrows. The absolute third option meant buying scrolls from master mages. which cost absolute fortunes, but those rare people born with elemental affinities held much higher odds of unlocking real magic at master level. I had genuinely been hunting for someone exactly like her. I quickly purchased 15 beastkin, grabbing 5 with rare traits like mining expert, swift speed, animal affinity, vigilance, and deft hands, plus 10 solid workers. Since Tigga threw Sylvia in free, I mandated him to tear up her contract. She would be my free employee, definitely not a slave. Shocked, but obedient, he immediately did it. Next, I scored lumber, 20 palm logs, and 5 redwood logs, then hired an expert carpenter's team to hit my base. Good wood was insanely scarce here. Pure stone buildings honestly sucked for proper insulation and ventilation, so I desperately needed both materials. It hit me that as architecture masters, Aisha and I rivaled 10 regular workers entirely. Our job meant building exactly what regular workers could not handle: fancy houses, massive walls, and specialty structures, while my crew handled the epic blueprint wonders. Wandering town later, smelling fried food drew me toward a random stall. A mysterious woman, wearing a dark black robe, sat there, absolutely demolishing her massive meal. Ready for this cliffhanger? She pushes an untouched plate over, saying my name. Golden hair, pointed ears, an elf. Alright, stick with me here. She called herself Stella, a prophet. One look at her stats, I froze. Legendary talent, fortune and disaster sensing. Profession, master prophet and senior mage. So this was the famous fortune teller the city had supposedly hired. But get this, she actually came totally uninvited. Her master skill let her glimpse the near future, even guessing what people would say before they spoke. Then, she finally revealed the real reason she tracked me down. She actually foresaw the complete collapse of the city. And not from regular underground monsters, something way worse. She mentioned a place 500 kilometers away. 3 months ago, an adult sandworm completely leveled their walls to the ground. Those giant sandworms were bigger than my entire shelter. This massive attack would hit us exactly 10 days from now, right before the second light day. She directly asked for my help. The city would pay in rare pink crystals, plus she would personally owe me. So, I asked if she would join my crew. Since prophets and mages need magic towers to level up, she could not stay permanently, but she offered to help my shelter short term. I thought it over. Looking at her stats, I saw legendary talent, genuine concern, and 0 deception. If the city fell, my shelter would lose our closest trading partner and supply line. Plus, my rare wonders could never be moved. Running away just was not ideal, so I agreed. I still had 2 unused archery master slots from the legendary hunting goddess statue. Now watch closely. 10 days to prepare. Stellara mentioned other defenders, including the Griffin family. A swordmaster named Seth would stay, and a neighboring city was sending exactly 100 soldiers. Once she left, Aisha returned with Sylvia looking totally refreshed. Later on, Shah mentioned Sylvia was asking questions about the famous northern beastkin settlement. They supposedly had a secret way to stop the berserking. Sylvia wanted to know if Aisha would join them. Aisha told her the absolute truth. Her master completely cured the terrible curse, meaning no more berserking. Later on, I met old Griffin at the city gates. He handed over 3 rare pink crystals and a bag of blue ones, our remaining medicine water payments. Then, he pulled me aside to discuss the prophet's dark warning. He actually received the exact same message about the city falling in 10 days. He was totally all in on defending. His shelter was right next door. If the city collapsed, his entire life's work would be completely wiped out. I told him I'd join the defense too. We do our best. He also shared an update on the pharmacist investigation. They actually bought some of our holy water to study it, but completely failed to figure it out. As for who exactly hired those soldiers to threaten me, he hadn't pinpointed them yet, but he definitely set a trap. The old fox smiled, telling me to wait for the rat to take the bait. I admitted we had to completely change how we sold the water moving forward. I was way too reckless early on, because the holy water's true power wasn't curing sickness. It was actually wiping out dark erosion from the beastkin. Some lucky beastkin probably already bought the water and discovered this. Let's pause for a second. If word got out about my unlimited supply, I would have a massive target on my back. So, strictly limited quantities. Make it super rare and expensive. I had to stay low-key until my shelter was strong enough for that. Attention! Harper soon returned with all the heavy forge equipment she needed. We headed straight home. The shelter was piled high with materials, and the carpenters would arrive tomorrow. Aisha asked if Sylvia could drink from our holy spring. I told her, of course. You never need to ask for that kind of thing anymore. Sylvia drank the water, and dark smoke poured out of her body. Another terrible curse, completely lifted. Then Aisha and I got to work on the new castle. She proudly claimed she memorized the whole blueprint and could build it with her eyes closed. She kept dreaming about waking up inside it every night. I redesigned it as a massive 3-story structure. The ground floor would beautifully enclose the holy spring and treasure basin, our 2 most important secrets, safely hidden inside the building, where no visitor could ever spot them. The magic spring would supply water throughout the castle using crystal pipes I shaped with my master ability. This first floor also featured a huge dining hall, a main bathroom, room, and plenty of storage. Second floor was the living quarters. Over 10 bedrooms, definitely including mine. The third floor had about 5 more rooms, a super secure vault for valuables, and a massive rooftop terrace where archers could fight right alongside our arrow towers during real emergencies. Absolutely no basement. That polar frost nest wonder would totally handle cold storage once I built it later. Since we were both architecture masters and the crystal tower was amplifying our skills, we estimated about 1 solid week to finish. If those carpenters got the new furniture done in time, we could totally move in right after. We didn't even tear down the old cabin, just used the tower to smoothly slide it aside. Next, Aisha used her epic transport skill to clear out the sandy soil, and we laid the massive foundation together. I taught her every modern construction trick I knew. The newcomer stared as we reshaped solid stone with bare willpower. Trust me, you and I are absolutely not ready for this. Come along with me. They stared like watching absolute gods. Harper calmly approached them, holding a bucket of holy water. She happily explained, this master's blessing would totally erase their curse. No more going wildly out of control ever again. Pure disbelief quickly shifted into tears of absolute joy. Drinking it, that heavy darkness finally vanished. Overwhelmed with gratitude, every single person dropped to their knees facing me, with that holy water boosting everyone's loyalty well over 60. Aisha and I wrapped up the castle's epic foundation and finally called it a night. Watching our 5 arrow towers effortlessly crush the evening assault, I considered my last 2 archery master slots. My physical body was still weak. I could barely draw an 80-pound bow, but guess what? The master ability totally compensated for physical weakness. My guided shots hit way harder than normal archers using stronger bows. Plus, I had one insane advantage nobody else in this entire world possessed. I actually knew how to design a compound bow. A compound bow's brilliant structure stores and releases energy way more efficiently. It literally packs almost double the punching power of a standard bow at the exact same draw weight. So my 80-pound compound bow would hit like a massive 160-pound longbow. In this whole crazy world, fighters with that kind of raw strength are incredibly rare. With armor-piercing arrowheads, I could easily punch straight through magic lizard scales. I basically became a walking sniper tower firing tracking arrows. Now pay attention here. For those 2 remaining archery master slots, I chose Ron, the loyal mind boy who detects hostile intent with loyalty at 82, alongside Waft, the dog beast with night vision. Absolutely perfect for nighttime defense. Next morning, enjoying fresh milk and fried eggs, I happily rode out to the mountain shelter. The fallen star forge already had a massive foundation built, looking way bigger than any previous wonder. Seriously impressive progress from over a dozen workers in one day. I handed Harper blueprints for construction hardware, hinges, nails, basic metal parts, leaving her at the old forge to work. Checking everyone's loyal of them sat comfortably around 70. Kieran sat at a totally miserable 40, but I didn't care. I brought Ron and Harper back to our main shelter. Gathering Ron and Waf, I announced I was giving them master level abilities. Both of them were just completely stunned. I carefully transferred the final 2 power streams from the hunting goddess statue right into them. While they absorbed that incredible knowledge, I visited the carpenter crew. Elijah, the lead carpenter, stared at my amazing furniture blueprints with totally wide eyes. He called these designs absolutely brilliant, eagerly asking which genius master drew them. I told him not to worry about that, asking how long the job would take. About 1 week, he confidently claimed, before finally getting to his actual, much bigger question. How much would I actually charge for the rights to copy these designs and sell them to nobles or other tower masters? I thought it over. Since copyright protection doesn't exist here, and I could always draw new designs, I happily traded those blueprints for completely free labor on this current job. He covers any extra wood costs, plus discounted rates on future work. He eagerly agreed. The designs were definitely worth more than I guessed. Meanwhile, Aisha was busy building the forge room since dawn. With the basic frame already up, Harper excitedly stored her tools inside, rolled up her sleeves, and tightly gripped her hammer. She confidently announced she'd make my compound bow first, having plenty of experience crafting epic bows. The wooden frame came together super fast, but forging metal components like limb tips, cams, and axles would take much longer. While she tirelessly worked, the Beast King crew finally finished the Guardian statues. Awesome stone figures, fully capable of coming alive to patrol the shelter all through the night. You and I love a good base upgrade, right? Activating them, those statues magically expanded into 4 massive, towering figures. An epic swordsman, an archer, a spearman, and a shield bearer. Each stood over 10 meters tall. Every night, one randomly comes alive, patrolling until dawn. With their insane size and heavy weight, crushing regular monsters is literally just like stepping on tiny bugs. This gave me ultimate peace of mind for leaving to defend the city in just 1 week. Next up, I started building the blessed beehive. 5 days to finish, thanks to that sweet god of architecture. Bonus, it produces magical honey, blessing anyone who eats it, plus provides housing for 10 people. I was absolutely dying to discover what this cool blessing actually did. Fia enthusiastically came running when she heard about the beehive. Her face completely lit up at just hearing about honey. I playfully teased her about having a massive sweet tooth like a kid. Her face twisted up, but I honestly admitted I was craving something sweet too. Nudging my leg playfully, she eagerly offered to brew delicious honey wine if I raised her pay. Lowering my voice, I told her this definitely wasn't any ordinary honey. This was a vital strategic resource. If she wanted access, she must sign a long-term contract. She went totally quiet, thinking hard. She left home to become a master, and actually achieved it. So what now? Go back east and simply brag to her family? That felt hollow. She suddenly realized this shelter provided something she had chased across half a continent. That's where we leave it. With constant new discoveries, this place truly became her home. Stick with me here. She asked if a tier above master existed. I smirked. Obviously. My architecture stats clearly showed 2 out of 50. Grinning brightly, she promised to work until she beat that master level. I told her that was way too vague. I needed a fixed timeline. Gritting her teeth, she signed for 5 years. For a halfling, that meant 1/10 of their whole lifespan. I promised her unlimited honey in 5 days. She immediately started planting fruit trees for honey wine. 3 days passed. Every single night, those monsters grew stronger. More magic lizards and massive bat swarms filled the dark sky. Scatter and flame towers held them back, but things got super tense. The guardian statues proved their incredible worth. Out of 3 nights, the shield guardian fully activated. Any monster daring to enter the shelter got completely smashed by a giant stone shield. Construction moved insanely fast. The castle frame went up, a cool C-shaped structure centering the gorgeous crystal tower. The holy spring and treasure basin set securely inside the central hall, safely hidden from outside view. Along the edge, I built worker dormitories. First, 2 per room, shared bathroom outside. I had to strictly order absolutely everyone to use the actual toilets. You feel my pain, right? People going everywhere. Those first 2 days absolutely wrecked me. Carpenter Elijah and his dozen apprentices worked super efficiently. They built whatever I drew. Doors and windows were finally done. Furniture remained in progress, but Harper's temporary forge happily produced enough nails and hinges to easily keep up. Plus, we solved the big glass problem. Moj led my miners to a stunning crystal cave inside the mountain shelter. I used my shaping ability, turning raw crystal into thin, beautifully clear sheets. Honestly, way better transparency than real glass. FIA signed her 5-year contract, smiling brightly. She was already planting fruit trees. Old Griffin and Luke visited, completely unable to hide their stunned reactions to the castle. Even just as a frame, the white marble outline with bold lines, a curved rooftop, and those wonder statues looked absolutely breathtaking. Luke stared with envy. Old Griffin just muttered to himself. He completely figured it out. I was an architecture master. Nobody helped me. I did it all alone. He asked me directly. I confirmed it, and his eyes practically sparkled. In this world's hierarchy, architecture masters simply sat above everything. Combat masters like archers and swordsmen were totally respected, but a building master could raise an impenetrable fortress in 1 week. And in a real fight, master abilities were absolutely devastating too. I shot at full power could collapse the ground into a massive 10-meter crater. I could spike stone pillars out of the earth. Watch closely, here is the pivot. The strongest profession title was undeniably real. Old Griffin immediately tried hiring me to renovate his shelter. I told him he had to wait. My schedule was completely packed. He laughed nervously, saying no rush. Then he shared amazing news. A merchant named Tony actually found him, volunteering to handle our medicine water distribution out to distant cities. He offered incredibly generous terms. I recognized that familiar name immediately. That captured trader I rescued from the mountain mine just days ago. He already bounced back, using his old trade networks. I told Griffin to completely trust him. Tony owed me big, keeping my identity secret. Then, showed them something truly special. Harper's newly completed compound bow. Old Griffin and Luke were lifelong archers, but neither had ever seen anything like this. The pulley system confused them completely, but the moment Old Griffin drew it, feeling that incredibly light full draw, then watching the arrow slam the target with double the expected force, his jaw literally dropped. I happily explained I would make several more before the city defense. Old Griffin could pull a 120-pound compound bow that delivers over 200 pounds of impact, easily enough to totally punch through a tough dragon's hide. Luke instantly fell in love with it too. His strength was lower than his father's, so this brilliant compound bow would massively boost his overall combat power. I asked them to keep the design totally secret. They agreed immediately. 2 days later, on Wednesday, exhausted from non-stop construction, I completely overslept. Aisha knocked on my door bringing breakfast and super exciting news. The blessed beehive finished a full day ahead of schedule. Those amazing beastkin workers had been pushing themselves incredibly hard. Once they realized they would get 3 meaty meals daily, they threw absolutely everything into the whole job. They shaved an entire day off the estimated build time. The fallen star forge at the mountain shelter was probably done today too. With fast war horses, I could ride there in 20 minutes. I'd check this afternoon. But first, the awesome beehive. The description claimed every single drop of honey blesses mortals. I was seriously dying to find out what that actually meant. Trust me, you're going to love this. I visited the massive beehive out back. A hollow stone cylinder, 3 stories tall and wildly huge. FIA had actually been waiting there since dawn. She carefully planted rare flower seeds from her collection all around it. And thanks to the Horn of Plenty, they were already budding. I activated it. The huge building expanded, glowing brilliantly. Amber, you and I are about to see something wild. Golden crystals filled the hollow spaces, revealing a massive queen bee preparing her eggs. A super sweet floral scent filled the air. This interior was incredibly spacious. 10 people could comfortably live inside. The actual massive hive occupied the outer shell behind those crystal walls. Energized by that mysterious golden crystal, the queen produced eggs incredibly fast. FIA was so excited, she immediately claimed a room inside. She absolutely wanted to live next to her bees and build a brewing station. I told Aisha to fetch her some nice furniture. Honestly, I was tempted to move in too. That flower scent was amazing, but my castle was almost finished. I did bring my lounge chair over. Next up was the epic Holy Shield, doubling base durability and adding self-repair. It needed attaching to existing walls, and I had already started a section. I completely designed a brilliant maze wall layout. Instead of a boring full enclosure, These walls formed a maze with clever gaps on two sides. Monsters would spot the openings and funnel inside instead of hitting the walls. Inside those corridors, arrow towers could concentrate heavy fire on a tight strike zone. Right at the end of each funnel, I placed those indestructible wonder statues as the final barrier. Unbreakable statues plus self-repairing walls with doubled strength. A mighty defense line nothing could easily crack. I transmitted that holy shield blueprint to our workers, happily announcing unlimited lunch food with extra meat for absolutely everyone. Aisha and I both gained 3 more architecture points just from cheerfully supervising this wonder. Construction. Still a long way from 50, but making steady progress. The castle was practically complete. I installed fresh doors and windows, polished the walls completely smooth, carved decorative lines, and crafted cool rock furniture, awesome table bases, stone chairs, and candle holders. It gave off a beautiful natural rustic style. Beds were fully finished and placed inside. We could happily move in tonight. That afternoon, I cheerfully rode to the mountain shelter alongside Harper. The epic Fallen Star Forge was finished. Watched this carefully. Activating it made a colossal furnace materialize near the mine, glowing with red magma light. Right at its core, a mysterious chunk of meteorite floated and spun slowly, glowing brightly with an eternal flame that would never, ever fade. It doubled smelting speeds and gave a 20% chance to improve equipment quality. Harper absolutely stared at it like she found pure heaven. She begged to move her entire forge operation right here, and I happily agreed. The shelters were close, and as an archery master, traveling alone was totally safe. I spent half an hour using my earth-shaping ability to build her a proper magical forge room. There, the rest of her materials could be easily carted over by Camel Beast. Then I suddenly realized the mountain shelter had too many workers. With Mo the ground dragon, digging happily, half the crew could easily handle mining and keep things supplied. I cheerfully brought the other half back to the main shelter, putting them on our cold storage polar frost nest. Running 2 massive construction projects at both shelters. Securing that second base was the absolute best decision I had made so far. It instantly provided awesome people, iron, and a forge. Back at the main shelter, our awesome castle was essentially done. Just finishing touches and furniture placement remained. My focus quickly shifted to the walls. I reviewed my brilliant maze defense plan one last time, confirmed it was rock solid, and excitedly called Aisha over. Aisha and I started building the walls. We cleverly used a segmented design so the crystal tower could move sections later for expansion. I forcefully drove stone pillars down as foundations, using my shaping ability to create interlocking joints, top-level stability, and awesome earthquake resistance without using any mortar. Our building speed skyrocketed. You saw that too, right? Our crystal towers perfectly matched several construction crews and their heavy machinery. My ability compressed stone cutting errors to absolutely nothing. The wall rose visibly, just like bamboo sprouting after rain. By evening, we had 2 or 3 meters standing strong. Final target was 10 meters. Going any higher would be totally pointless against high-jumping enemies. FIA loudly called us over, bouncing with joy. The blessed beehive already had happy bees flying around the colorful flowers. She held up a glass bottle with honey. She carefully extracted, playfully apologizing for sneaking some before the colony fully established. She popped open the bottle and inhaled a mouthful before I could stop her. I tried some, sweet and rich, but that was not the important part. Incredible power flowed into my body. I checked my status, seeing a brand new line. Beehive blessing. Constitution increasing. I clenched my fist, realizing I was noticeably stronger. Before, I could barely pull an 80-pound bow. Now, I'd handle 100. Aisha and FIA felt it too. FIA cheered. Her strength had doubled. I tried eating more, but the status remained unchanged. So what do you and I take from this? Even a single permanent constitution boost is extraordinary. This exact magical effect made potions worth absolute fortunes. FIA analyzed what was happening. She mostly planted dragon flame flowers around the hive, a species known for boosting vitality. Stick with me here. The bees made honey, and the wonder amplified it into a permanent blessing. She suggested swapping flower types. A spirit-boosting variety could seriously upgrade our mental power instead. I told her to experiment. Once we reached mass production, everyone inside would get a dose. Leftover premium medicine could be sold alongside our holy water. The days quickly passed. The walls grew taller and wider, gradually wrapping the entire shelter. I positioned the arrow towers covering every single angle. Maze-like gaps funneled monsters down a preset path, where towers completely shredded them. At every corridor's end stood an indestructible wonder statue. Monsters bit and clawed them until their teeth snapped completely. A giant guardian statue would step forward, completely crushing whatever was left. The whole system worked beautifully. Then the big day arrived. Old Griffin showed up with all 3 sons. Tomorrow night was the predicted city attack. Everyone except Luke looked extremely worried. Old Griffin stared at my massive walls in pure awe. He asked to send his family to my shelter for the night to stay totally safe while we defended the city. I happily agreed. I fully prepared my awesome team. Aisha, Harper, and 3 awesome archery masters were geared up and ready at the gates. The other 2 masters stayed to guard my 2 shelters. Whatever happened tonight, my home would be fully defended. Letting the Griffin family hide inside my castle was zero trouble at all. The interior was complete. I spent my downtime carving cool decorations, arranging furniture, and perfectly polishing every surface. The place looked like it belonged to someone way wealthier than a wasteland tower master. Now watch closely. I wasn't just blindly trusting that prophet about my shelter being safe. That is exactly why I upgraded those walls. The main base had complete defenses. Giant walls, arrow towers, guardian statues, and an expert archery master on guard. The mountain shelter had Mo, our epic ground dragon, plus another archery master and fully maxed towers. I covered every angle. I handed Old Griffin 3 compound bows and explained how to use them. Slower than longbows, so just alternate between both. The compound bow's huge advantage was double the power at the same draw weight. Absolutely perfect for heavily armored monsters. Heading to the city, Old Griffin finally opened up. He talked about growing up in the wasteland. His father called the crystal towers a blessing from the gods, capable of turning deserts into farmland. But he always felt it was a complete curse. Endless monsters turning to sand when defeated, underground cities hiding sealed horrors, and absolutely zero answers. He confessed he was getting older and could not protect his family much longer. I know what you are thinking. Humans never lose to their environment. We would definitely uncover the truth eventually. He cheerfully laughed, saying he was just being foolish. The future belonged to the young. We arrived at the city, and the military buildup was impressive. Cavalry, giant siege weapons, massive crossbows, and arrow towers lining every single wall. I had to resist the urge to take it all for my base. Stella the Prophet appeared in her black robe, handing me a cool commander badge. Any soldier on the walls would follow my orders. I asked where she was staying tonight. She smiled mysteriously, saying, I would eventually find out. Old Griffin left to handle the medicine water business. Harper happily went shopping for cool forge supplies. I took Aisha to the worker market, with the Holy Shield and Polar Frost Nest finishing in 2 days. Page 4 of the guide would unlock soon. I was certain it would demand even more workers. Better to stock up right now. I found Tigga in a massive panic. The city lord ordered all beastkin locked down tight as a major security risk before tonight's big attack. The military kept shooting hostile glares at his stock. He was totally terrified. So I bought all 34 remaining beastkin, 18 dogs, 5 lizards, 3 rats, and 8 awesome sheep types. He gave me rock bottom prices, practically crying with pure gratitude. I had everyone shipped safely home with contracts officially signed. Walking into the city afterward, Aisha suddenly noticed something that I had already felt. Eyes watching us. 2 people in green robes secretly tracked our movements. I ducked straight into an alley, cutting their vision. They immediately followed us. The second they stepped into the narrow passage, an arrow violently whistled past, embedding itself right next to one of their heads. Aisha held her dagger at one guy's throat before he could even blink. I aimed an arrow at the other. They threw their hands up immediately. They were from the Pharmacist Guild, sent by their branch leader, Green Jod, to watch Old Griffin and anyone connected to him. One kept nervously glancing at his pocket. I reached in, pulling out a crystal bottle, a literal explosive. Throw it on the ground and it instantly detonates. They swore they were not planning to use it, claiming Jod had forced them. Any pharmacist wanting to work in the city had to follow his orders. I pieced the whole sneaky plot together fast. So what do you and I take from this? During tonight's massive battle, nobody would notice two tower masters vanishing forever. Stick with me here. After any big battle, medicine demand skyrockets. Our holy water staying available would totally ruin the Shady Guild and their huge profits. Jodo was out of time. I had to warn old Griffin. Aisha knocked the guys out cold. We rushed to the commercial district. Suddenly, the sky turned pitch black at noon, and everyone started panicking. Grabbing Aisha tightly, I pushed right through the heavy crowd toward the city gate. Harper was waiting there with the whole Griffin family. We all stared upward. Heavy, intense clouds. The air felt like a massive storm was brewing. I flashed my commander badge at the gate. Captain, a giant knight named Brandon Wess. Epic commander talent, a triple expert as knight, swordsman, and archer, basically born for battle. He glared at my badge, looked at me, and grumbled about giving top clearance to a kid. Seeing Aisha and Harper, he lost it. Two beastkin on his wall? He warned he would stop them himself if they went berserk. We climbed the huge wall and looked out. Total darkness was spreading, getting deeper by the second. Then wild monsters appeared, charging the city from everywhere. The wall-mounted arrow towers immediately opened fire. Watch closely. Soldiers whispered about a similar event 5 years ago. 3 months of darkness called Eternal Night. Pure chaos. A massive glowing green shape pushed up from the earth on the horizon. Just like a mountain rising. The entire ground shook. Brandon trembled. The underground city is surfacing. One of the 10 great calamities, he explained. Surfacing means it unleashes endless, wild waves of monsters. Floors 1 through 10. Ground dragons were only from floor 3. Floor 10 spawns tier 4 creatures, like elite bosses using elemental magic or enchanted weapons. This epic siege lasts until the next light day. Lucky us, that was tomorrow. Brandon tried joking about our luck. I did not laugh. I asked if nearby shelters would get hit. He said the underground city was so close. Monsters would focus here instead of distant shelters. My first cheerful thought was how many shiny blue crystals my treasure basin would collect if this was happening back home. Aisha and I looked at each other, totally thinking the exact same thing. Brandon drew his sword and roared out, "Draw bows. Prepare to defend." Back at the shelter, Waft guarded the walls. Having night vision, he could easily see everything in the dark. Left in charge, he was ready to fall, defending the place, but he actually did not need to. You and I know this trick. The maze funneled monsters in, while the guardian statue smashed them like bugs. Arrow towers shredded the rest. Nothing reached the statues. Waft just scratched his head, stopping his shots. Nothing was left to shoot. But the city? A totally different story. The wall towers handled the first waves easily enough. Then, the dangerous third floor creatures finally arrived. Giant trolls marched with goblin shamans hiding behind. Brandon ordered archers to target shamans, but they were actually smart this time. They stayed perfectly hidden behind the trolls, refusing to show themselves. The fallen monsters from earlier waves stood back up, glowing green, slamming broken bodies against the walls. Pressure on the defenders doubled instantly. Brandon was completely shocked. These monsters were not fully berserk. Someone was definitely directing them. The sniper towers could not reach those shamans over 400 meters out. I drew my compound bow, hitting like a 180-pound longbow. Its maximum range exceeded 500 meters. Plus, my master ability let me guide the arrow completely. Turns, acceleration, and precision strikes anywhere within that massive range. Seeing me draw, Brandon told me not to bother. One extra bow would not change anything. He admired my teenage courage, but I completely ignored him, just firing straight upward. The arrow screamed through the air so fast, every soldier turned. They had never seen anything move like that. Soldiers asked what enchanted bow I used. My eyes glowed bright blue as my mind merged with the arrow. 300 meters out, it started descending. I locked onto a shaman behind a troll, driving the arrow straight through its head. It fell instantly. Brandon tracked the entire flight path, his face going completely white. He had fought brutal wars everywhere. He knew exactly how completely terrifying a guided arrow was on any battlefield. No commander was safe anymore. He whispered, "Master." I did not answer. I was already knocking my second arrow. It flew. Another shaman fell. Soldiers spotted this, cheering wildly. You and I just witnessed pure perfection. 7 shamans. 7 arrows. 7 eliminated. Stick with me. Without shamans around, those massive trolls were easy targets. Wall towers blasted them with fire and heavy bolts until they dropped. But then, a huge, screeching swarm of bats totally blotted out the sky. Our towers cleared them like rain. Suddenly, a massive bird monster with giant wings dove straight down from above the swarm. It slammed heavy claws right into an arrow tower while someone screamed out a warning. A griffin, half lion, half eagle, packing wild wings and sharp claws. It burst from the bats and violently crashed into one of our main sniper towers. Brandon panicked instantly. Griffins were supposed to be floor 10 monsters. Now watch this carefully. It used the bat swarm for cover and perfectly targeted our strongest tower. It was thinking. Soldiers fired rapidly, but basic arrows just bounced off its thick feathers. Suddenly, from the opposite wall, a wild blue lightning bolt completely shocked the giant griffin. Old Griffin's magic bow skill. That electric shock paralyzed the beast briefly. My first thought wasn't taking it down. I wanted to tame it. Having a griffin mount would be epic. Sadly, my horn of submission was back at the base and totally stuck on cooldown mode. The griffin quickly shook off the stun. That lightning arrow left a nasty chest wound. Absolutely furious, it dove at old griffin. Harper stayed ready. Her heavy arrow punched straight through its wing. It shrieked, instantly veering away to climb back upwards. I fired a shot too. The 3 of us landed arrows, opening up multiple wounds. But it dodged every finishing strike and escaped. Brandon realized this beast was just a young juvenile. Adult griffins could use wind magic to deflect everything. That was honestly a terrifying thought. He finally realized that Harper, the dog beastkin right beside me, was actually another archery master. I saw him heavily struggling with the truth. 2 beastkin on his wall were way more useful than his regular soldiers. Turns out, Brandon was the 2nd Night Squad captain from Emerald City, a massive western settlement. He had been sent over with troops to boost our defenses. I asked him to work for me. He politely declined the offer, staying completely loyal to his city lord. The battle quickly turned into a grind. Endless waves of weak monsters and 0 elite threats. Aisha handed me some jerky and holy water. I ate quietly. It was still early evening, and daylight would not arrive until 6 in the morning. One seriously long night ahead. Suddenly, something fresh crawled out of the sand. Creepy skeletons everywhere. Endless monster skeletons. They were super fragile and fell apart instantly. But there were literally thousands. Nobody understood what was happening. We figured it was just another monster variant. Meanwhile, back at my shelter, Waft watched the exact same skeletons approaching. Using his awesome night vision, he saw everything. Our maze walls and towers. Handled them easily. He barely even needed to shoot. Up at the mountain shelter, Moj guarded the entrance. Ron bounced arrows off cave walls using his master skills, easily clearing anything that slipped past. The sealed underground passages held strong beneath the main city. Let's pause. You and I wouldn't learn about this twist until later. Stellaria, the awesome prophet, stood on a black platform, pressing her hands directly onto a floating crystal. It looked just like a mini tower core, but it perfectly shimmered like a beautiful spinning galaxy. A strange, fuzzy ball sat upon her shoulder. It was some strange creature talking to her. She uncovered something totally unexpected about this disaster. This was no normal underground emergence. Deep inside, there were hidden clues about the infamous curse of the wasteland. She realized if her teacher had known, they would have visited here personally. She rapidly channeled power through a temporary star tower made of scrolls. She was trying to share a tiny fraction of her main strength to help defend us. She softly whispered that we just had to hold out until morning. Several hours passed, and those skeletons kept getting much worse. Bigger and faster. The towers could not keep up anymore. Suddenly, Sha sharply nudged me, pointing at one specific skeleton. It was noticeably taller, rocking completely rusted armor and gripping a hollow, long sword that featured a glowing blue gemstone right in the middle. Every single swing released an epic blue light blade, an enchanted weapon. Brandon claimed only rare enchanters or master mages could create those beauties. I wanted it immediately, but dropping down meant drowning in monsters. So, I decided to try something crazy. I fired an arrow directly at the sword, perfectly threading it through the blade's hollow gap. My arrow carried the heavy sword upward, but quickly lost momentum. Right before it fell, I fired a second arrow, striking it mid-air and pushing it closer to the wall. Then came a third and fourth. The whole wall section watched in pure silence. I used over a dozen arrows to perfectly relay the sword through the air, pushing it closer with every single hit. The final arrow bounced the sword right into my hand. Aisha cheered, while Brandon swore in every wasteland curse he knew. I swung it. A blue energy blade instantly carved the wall apart. Wild, right? You and I must see what happens next. Stick with me here. While the ancient blade was totally rusted, that center gemstone was absolutely flawless. Harper stared, begging to study it. She swore that figuring out its design was the ultimate key to mastering forging. I promised she could examine it back home. Suddenly, the intense earthquake finally stopped. That massive underground city had completely finished rising up. Over 10 floors appeared. A huge black tower covered in weird patterns stretched right into the dark sky. Brandon exhaled deeply, swearing he would run if it got any higher. But then, something massive flew right out of the tower. A literal bone dragon, an entire skeleton held together by pure dark magic, rocking enormous wings and radiating this absolutely crushing, intense pressure. Half the wall's soldiers dropped their weapons, some collapsed, and some just started praying. Aisha and Harper grabbed my arms, totally shaking. The raw instinct of prey facing an apex predator. I tightly gripped my compound bow. If that thing showed its face, I was shooting it. Right then, a loud voice rang out behind us. Stella floated up from the center on her black stone platform, golden hair flying, casting spell after spell. Group buffs, holy light, enchantments, and mass healing. Green energy wrapped every soldier. Bright white radiance coated my bow. My tiredness vanished, and pure strength surged. Her voice echoed right in my ear through a magic link. Aim for the eye socket. I pulled my bow back. Holy light gathered out of nowhere, cutting the darkness and flooding my arrow like a spotlight in a theater. I let go. The arrow shredded the bone dragon's eye socket, and dark energy exploded outward. Watch closely. The dragon froze mid-air and shrieked. It sounded like metal scraping against bone. Stella floated over on her platform. She claimed it was just a 1,000-year-old dragon skeleton, nothing more. Then she casually said, "We had to enter the underground city and take out whoever was controlling the skeletons." I literally pointed at myself. Was she joking? She mentioned she also recruited a swordmaster. Right then, a gray-haired old man stood on the next wall, tightly gripping a long sword. His name was Seth. He sighed, saying, "If a young kid had the guts to go inside, an old guy like him had absolutely zero reason to fear." I stared at the endless skeleton army flooding from the tower, took a deep breath, and told Stella her reward better be absolutely worth this craziness. I called Aisha and Harper. We stepped onto the magic floating platform. I scanned the old swordsman's stats. Seth Finch, epic talent, sword mastery. His swordmaster level sat at 38 out of 50, literally the highest I had ever seen. He also rocked a cooking expert skill, which was totally unexpected. His status showed he was tired but burning with fighting spirit. Believing this might be his absolute final battle, a wandering mercenary who arrived last week and stayed. When Stellara asked, we shook hands. He praised my youth, while I hyped up his epic sword skills. I invited the guy to visit my shelter once this whole mess ended, and he cheerfully agreed. The bone dragon crashed down. Stella gripped her crystal ball and flew us straight toward the underground city on her magical platform. We entered through a gap at the base of the Black Tower. On the way in, she gave us a quick briefing. Archaeologists confirmed a kingdom thrived here 500 years ago. They built this underground city to hide from some threat, but got totally destroyed anyway. The city had dozens of floors, maybe 100, most still sealed. The magic seals were weakening. Someone was controlling the skeleton army. A mysterious figure spotted in murals from previously explored sections. He was actually a general from that ancient kingdom. He was long gone, but his body was still animated by its own raw magic. Our mission? Destroy him and search his quarters for clues about the wasteland curse. Without hesitating, we dove straight inside. You and I probably expected a normal room, right? Nope, it was a self-contained world: soil, roads, structures, and a glowing ceiling, like a dark underground realm. Stellaria pointed toward a distant altar surrounded by objects that looked exactly like crystal tower cores. She parked the platform and quickly buffed everyone with magic. She explained her floating platform was actually a miniature star tower built from scrolls, channeling power from her teacher's real magic tower, super far away. It could fail at any moment. We had to be fast. Seth drew his sword and charged. This old man broke human limits, slicing skeletons like paper. Aisha unleashed her rapid fire skill, completely clearing the path ahead in mere seconds. Harper and I provided ranged support. Then I spotted our target on the altar, a robed skeleton holding a staff, staring down at a stone tablet. I fired a holy light arrow from over 300 meters, but something invisible stopped it cold, just inches from the skeleton's face. Stella tried next. A massive blade of light materialized above the skeleton, swinging down with earth-shaking force. It stopped right at its skull, totally blocked by that exact same barrier. That black, fuzzy creature on her shoulder totally panicked. It warned that the skeleton was draining power from the entire underground city. Way too strong. That's where we leave it. Endless armored skeletons spawned, and Seth started wearing down. Jump in with me. I tossed him holy water. He drank it, instantly regaining speed. Then I threw over the enchanted sword I had recovered. Brilliant blue light exploded everywhere as he sliced right through all nearby enemies. I kept blasting the skeleton, General. Nothing penetrated that shield. I even targeted the crystal cores around the altar, with zero luck. The situation was turning dire. Countless skeletons were swarming us from behind. Seth glanced back, suggesting we could still retreat if we left right now. He had just one burst left. Stella was sweating hard, gripping her crystal ball with extremely shaky hands. Suddenly, the stone platform erupted with light. The black ball on her shoulder squeaked that the Ancient One approached. Entering its host, the squeaky voice vanished, instantly replaced by a mature woman. Stellara, you incredibly reckless child. When you return, you are grounded for 10 whole years. That voice from the black ball belonged to Stella's teacher, a mighty mage, channeling her own presence through the creature from afar. She loudly ordered Stellaria to detonate the highest energy object nearby to shatter the necromancer's ultimate shield. Stellaria bravely grabbed her crystal ball and hurled it straight at the skeleton. It erupted into a massive explosion, completely obliterating the protective barrier. The black ball screamed in absolute panic. That crystal ball cost 50 years of crystal savings. The teacher actually meant the enchanted weapon gemstone, the crystal ball. But it was way too late. Seth and I moved at the exact same time. I instantly shot the staff out of his hand. Seth charged forward, his enchanted sword trailing brilliant blue light, and smashed it onto the skeleton's skull. Aisha and Harper fired powerful arrows that struck directly. This time, the villain shattered completely into tiny bone pieces. You and I knew it wasn't over. Stella cast holy magic, but those dark bones started rebuilding themselves. It was putting itself together. Seth kicked the staff my way, but a massive bone spike suddenly shot up from the ground, piercing right through his side. Energy splashed everywhere. I checked the necromancer's stats. Maxwell, the withered dark bone. Master Necromancer at 49 out of 50, just 1 point from maximum. His status revealed an active undeath curse. That explained the constant rebuilding. Then a wild idea hit me. I grabbed my emergency holy water, quickly tied it to an arrow with some cloth, cleanly dodged a massive bone spike, and immediately fired. The glass vial shattered perfectly against the skeleton's eye. That familiar hissing sound echoed again. The evil bones collapsed completely and stayed down for good. The curse was broken. I sprinted to the altar, grabbing 4 unknown crystal cores and the mysterious stone tablet. The villain had been staring at. Harper hoisted Seth onto her back, grabbed the enchanted sword, and faced the confused skeleton army. The skeleton army remained, but they completely stopped receiving any commands. Stella explained they would vanish once their magic emptied, with no new ones spawning. Aisha and I teamed up, using our architecture master skills. Together, we parted the ground like a massive wave, shoving all debris aside and raised huge walls to clear a perfect exit path for everyone. Seth watched in absolute disbelief from Harper's back. 2 architecture masters. We rushed outside. The battle was finishing. The remaining skeletons went clueless, attacking random monsters nearby. Old Griffin was unleashing massive power up top. Each lightning arrow formed an electric net, taking down groups. The entire underground city began sinking away behind us. Totally exhausted, Stella walked alongside me, thanked me, and admitted her wise teacher was actually right. But wait, you and I just realized something worse. She destroyed the crystal ball. A 10-year grounding was the least of her problems. She would probably work in the mines forever to pay it back. Suddenly, she spotted the wall. A guy in green robes pulled out a potion, glaring right at old Griffin's back. It was the pharmacist leader, Green Jodo, attempting a sneaky assassination in the chaos. Stella reacted instantly. Dark storm clouds gathered quickly. A massive lightning bolt struck the guy from above, holding for 30 straight seconds. When it faded, he was totally roasted. Well, that pharmacist problem solved itself. We safely got inside and collapsed. Seth was fully bandaged up, chugging holy water to rapidly heal. The rest of us gathered around a table with our epic new loot. 4 unknown cores, the dark necromancer's staff, and the mysterious tablet. Stella requested the stone tablet since she was the only one reading that ancient text. It could reveal massive clues about the wasteland curse and these mysterious monsters. I agreed to let her look, demanding she share the intel. She checked the cores. Trust me, you and I are not ready for the secret.